want to show you a picture of this cat that's been hanging around the house. See if you might know who it is. It looks like it belongs to somebody. It's real healthy. Black with a little white face. Little white on the end of the tail. Medium big.
I don't know, but a coyote walked directly behind my house today in the broad daylight, 10 a.m., against my fence, just la 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 la, stopped, looked in my window, kept
going.
going.
Take this cat in, Lisa.
Yeah, no. I already got an animal.
You need a gun. Shoot the damn thing.
I can't see Lisa shoot the
This
coyote.
line is
She don't even shoot a
into
snake.
the back of the microphone to power it on, and it's not powered on.
I would shoot coyote.
So push the button again.
No, the black
food?
cord that's going up to
No.
Did it get unplugged or wiggled out?
No.
It's a menace.
Maybe, can you unplug the black?
There's a big orange.
There's two
one.
black
I feel
plugs.
bad for the
Power cord?
with the one
No,
with
it's a
USB. There you go. It's unplugged.
When the other one ran away.
No, plug it back in.
But it comes by my house every day.
Okay.
It's pathetic. And
His cat would be in my house in a heartbeat.
Something
If we
Is
let
that
her
good?
get past the door, which is like,
we're not gonna have.
I'm ready to jump in your arms and be your cat.
Let me check the audio. I'm just gonna switch.
Want me to turn this on and off again? Maybe that'll do it.
Cat. You know what I mean? Does not play well with others.
I don't want to have a room divider.
I just don't know
Because
how
they
I
hiss at each other.
No,
through
I
the
don't know
whole
what I
fence.
could do. I told Sabrina, I said, here's a picture of the cat that's trying to be your cat.
Okay.
Because I have her baby, you know.
Okay.
I have other cats.
Can you turn it for me, please? That's Park West.
Okay, we're fine.
Cool.
I switched the audio.
This thing's on?
Nope, it's gonna audio from the iPad.
Okay.
Are we ready to start?
Born ready.
Okay. 6:16. Thank you and welcome to the Fraser Park Public Utility District meeting of Thursday, October 11th, 2018 at 6:16. We are live streaming the meeting and it's either on our website or on YouTube. We will do the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call. Director Garcia. Out. Director Gibson.
I'm here.
Director Nyman.
Here.
Director Schoenberg. Here. And Director Kelling is here. Let's see. Do we need to adjust the agenda?
We can table 6A. 6A.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is there any other adjustments?
Gary?
Director Schoenberg.
I move that we place accounts payable financial information between number 5 and 6 per our financial, our bookkeeper being not feeling well and wanting to get through that. So before the report, and I also move that we table 6A, which is on the manager's report.
I second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Aye. 400. No, 401. Okay. Any public comments, anything that is not on the agenda? Okay. officer reports. I don't know if this is the right place to do it, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I would like to thank our guys for taking care of the tree that fell in on Park Drive.
I'll pass that on to him, yeah.
I wanted it on the record.
Perfect. That was Kern County Roads and Philly Wheeler took care of that, which, that's good.
Yeah.
Big tree?
Big branch, oak branch fell
Oh,
across, right across from the, library,
oh wow.
yeah.
Stop.
Five in the morning,
Yeah.
5:30 or so.
Oh, we're lucky nobody got hit with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the first
Slow
one that's done too.
The one across the street from my house looks like it's ready to break.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they just go at any given time.
And I wanted to,
Oh, they've been around a long time, haven't they?
Yeah.
Vice President and
I have nothing.
Secretary.
I guess most of my stuff's all ad hoc stuff, so
Okay.
nothing.
Treasurer.
I made the $20 transfers for the audit fees back into all the accounts. And I guess we probably finished all our automatic payments for our USDA loans and stuff, so I need to get with Linda so we can put in the year. So
Oh, it's October, yeah, we need to do
I
that.
need that
Yeah, I'll
information.
address that in my report.
Okay. Okay.
And member at large is Cal. Okay, board initiatives.
No.
Okay. We're gonna move on to 8, accounts payable and financial information.
Thank you so much for changing the schedule to help me feeling, I am not feeling well, but, first of all, the balances. The total of all the accounts is 1,339,869.70. The operating account as of the end of the month was 291,889.71. After today's, check run, the balance is around 291,000.
After today's check run?
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of deposits have come in this week, so.
So we should make a transfer into the emergency
That's
reserve
my
fund?
was my next comment. I'm
Okay.
recommending that we transfer 150,000. Because with the 291, the average monthly bills is 110,000, I leave 181. So we transfer 150,000, we still have really
I want
good
to sure
cushion.
everything is cleared that we did
Right.
before.
And
Okay.
so that should be done anytime before the end of the month.
Okay,
And then the next time will be in April.
okay,
After the payments for the loans will come out October 15th. As we know, the funds are already in the account. After that, then I'll get the updated information, and for the November meeting, I'll let you know what the new amounts are going to be.
okay.
And so you'll do a transfer in November after our November meeting, and
Okay.
set that
And
up
then
to be
set it up for
automatic.
automatic payments,
Right.
okay.
To go through October like we did this time.
Okay,
So I'll have that figure with his proper schedules, because I have to do it through the October 31 activity. So, the only other thing I wanted to bring up is the insurance, the $15,000 insurance deal. I just wanted you to know, and I think I might have put it even on the invoice, that was approximately a $1,300 increase over last year. But we have newer vehicles, so I felt that $1,300 wasn't too bad.
And apparently the dump truck ain't even on it yet, so
Oh, it isn't?
apparently not. I never did it, it just dawned on me that we needed to have it.
So other than that, the other invoices and payments were pretty much the norm.
Linda, we're missing the, second tax bill.
No, it's all combined.
Well, that one bill only says 80-some dollars.
That's all it is.
But you made a check out for $163.84.
No, there's two.
There, well, that's what I'm saying, is I don't
We're
see the
missing one
second,
of
I'm
them.
It's in
missing.
there.
I'm telling you, it's not here.
It's one check.
Yeah,
I
there's
know,
one check, but where's the other
but
invoice?
But
where's
there's
the
only
other?
There's
one
two invoices.
bill.
Okay, here's how it works. There's one bill, okay? The bill shows the total amount due right there.
Right, and you have another one that's not there. That
Came in with two tax bills.
$77.58,
So there
Oh,
should be the other tax
I see
bill.
what you're saying.
yeah.
There's two invoices.
I paid both at the same time. Okay. Paying it early, so I'll void it and have it for the next, it's not due until
Okay.
October, until
Okay.
December.
Okay,
So I'll check into that.
okay,
Way to look out there, treasurer.
What?
we'll be quiet.
2035.
I thought you were talking about
Well, we
because
may
of
not
what I was
need to-
making a double payment.
We may not need to void it if it's correct, we just.
Write another check
hold
for the
it-
other one.
Why don't you just hold it
Right, so
back
I have to look.
a month, and if it's wrong, then we can void
So
it.
just,
I knew that
just
you-
take this one.
I know that
Okay.
two tax bills came in, there was two of them, so you just gotta find the other one. is all.
Okay, and that could be where that is, so. I will check that out next week when I come in.
Cool.
And that's the end of my report.
You're probably smelling hand sanitizer. You put on my hand.
Yeah.
It's very, sick.
Did I hear a motion to,
One of our directors said that they, didn't get compensated for the number of meetings that they went to. Maybe they neglected to put it on the calendar.
Yeah, that was me. I neglected to put on the, ad hoc stuff that I did, so it's, I know, so I thought it was
Just send me an
on the calendar.
email.
Do you wanna wait till next month, or do you wanna have her cut a check, next week when she comes in for the total, and then I can run around and get it signed?
You can just wait till next month.
Okay.
It's fine,
Okay.
as long as we remember it, it's for the ad hoc where I did all that extra work for, I don't put anything in for the meeting that we go to, but I put in a bunch of extra work for that meeting.
Okay, yeah, so because I already looked at September to do it, if you could, shoot me an email or write a note and I'll take care of it.
I make a motion that we pay our bills.
I'm gonna hear a second.
I'll second
Two, all in favor?
Aye.
it.
Aye. 401 carried.
Hallelujah.
Okay. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Feel bad.
What
Madam-
you got, Cole?
You need one of those?
I don't know, it just happened while I was here earlier, but all of a sudden I started feeling hot and feverish and feeling nauseous.
Okay, don't get near me.
So I don't know,
Yeah,
it
take
just,
your
it's
germs
just
in.
like all of a sudden.
That's why I was using hand sanitizer. Okay, I'm gonna try to keep this, as brief as I can, but I got a lot to cover, so. I told you guys that we had a tank failing at Wolf. Today, I have pictures and video. The old tank, there's two tanks at Wolf, the old tank, sprung a leak, 3 leaks to be exact. There was, the valve had failed, I told you guys a long time ago that the valves were bad.
Oh.
I'd have,
Can I say, Linda, on the, bank card, do we need to mail that, or do we need to take it to the bank?
It just came in today, so it can be mailed.
Okay, great, thank you, sorry. about
so,
that.
I had to have the diver come in today. The diver came in, had to go inside the tank. He had to plug the outlet, to the valve so we could replace the valve. So we have a way to shut off that tank. Also, he did a very temporary repair on the 3 leaks. It's my opinion that we have to take that tank out of service. There's no way to fix it. It's gonna be a huge safety hazard if it, you know, continues to leak. We have an additional problem of trying to now that we can shut off the tank so no more new water goes in it, we have to figure out how to get the water out of it. I have a plan for that, but it's gonna take a little planning and, you know, see what I can do about it, but, again, I have a video of it. If we go for emergency replacement funding, which is probably what we ought to do, right now USDA is, wanting to give money, as well, hopefully the state, but it's our tank that has all the T-Mobile stuff on it. So if we do replace it, I don't know how logistically we would coordinate that with T-Mobile. So that's something that we have to think about. That will be an agenda item at further meeting, but yeah.
Isn't that the tank that boosts to McGee?
Well, there's two tanks, yeah. There's two tanks there. They float together. There's the front tank that was replaced, I don't know, before my time, but 15 years ago. So the front tank was replaced, but then we stood McGee, and McGee is too small of a tank. So that's kind of an issue because it requires a lot of storage up there to keep on boosting the McGee tank. So,
Well, what does it mean if it goes offline?
well, right now we have 2.1 million gallons of storage, and now we're gonna have, just under 2 million gallons of storage. I think it's important to have that tank, but I think we can get by without it in the meantime. We can certainly get by with it, a lot better than we can, get by with a failing tank that's gonna be blowing water down the hillside, so.
Do we have to go through the whole process of like doing a new tank, and I'm sorry, I'm not raising my hand, please forgive me. Is it like doing like up at Pine Canyon, is it like doing a process like that with the PEO and stuff?
Yeah, ultimately, that's what it would be. It would be a total tear down, total rebuild. This would look like before. So temporarily, he's shoved epoxy in there, from the inside. So it's stopping the flow, but it's gonna happen again, and it's at the bottom of the tank. There's no way to replace the panels in the bottom. I'm guessing that tank is probably from the 60s. That would be my guess. Just gotta look at my list here. Yeah, sometime in the 60s, and it's a 125,000 gallon tank. So that's something that'll be obviously an agenda item in the future to figure out what to do, but in the meantime, I'm gonna try to figure a way to get the water out of the tank so it's no longer a hazard, and we're just gonna shut it off in the meantime and get by without it, because, it's obviously an issue. Yeah,
Okay, so they float together, but if that's shut off,
it's just the front tank.
there's a valve to the front tank to completely isolate it?
No, now there's a valve. We can't shut off the tank that would isolate it at the front tank because it also shuts water off that's necessary for the system. But we put a new valve on the back tank
That's what I'm asking.
that's
So
gonna keep any other water from going into it.
So right now, there's no valve to shut off to keep water from going.
No, there is no, we replaced that today.
Okay.
We had the come in, plug up the tank from the
Yeah.
inside, so we could swap out the valve and make the valve work, so now that works. So we have a valve, and it's shut off right now, so it's out of the tank. Which means I have to find a pump and a disinfection process and the hoses to where we could slowly pump water from the back tank into the front tank, but I have to coordinate that with the State Water Resource Control Board to make sure that all the safety concerns are met. But in the meantime, that's where we stand.
What about the mobile equipment? Can it stay on as long as the tank is standing?
Oh, yeah, it can stay there, yeah. Yeah, and I just need to talk to T-Mobile and, you know, find out if it could be moved, all that stuff could be moved to the front tank. You know, I don't know how critical their placement is, if 50 feet's gonna make a difference. And if it does make a difference, if it's worthwhile. Over the next month, I'm gonna know how well the one tank is sustaining the system by itself. So I'll know more as time goes on. But I just know that I had to shut the tank off and we have to get the water out of it, so it's not doing what you guys see it's doing.
How, do you know what the age is on the front Wolf? That was replaced before McGee, right? Well, I think it was part of the USDA.
I'm saying 15 years. But
Yeah, I think it was replaced before our first USDA, but it was.
2003, so I was right. 15
Yeah, so
years.
it was replaced at the same time as McGee, so, okay,
So that one's fine.
okay.
But as we're upgrading stuff, we're gonna be upgrading with sacrificial, rods that go in the tanks, the older tanks, to keep, to extend the life as far as we can. Diver Dan today wanted me to impress upon the board that, anytime we replace a tank, that we're, stupid to replace it with bolted tanks. That, anytime we should push for welded tanks, which we knew that last time, but they cost more than bolted tanks. But the steel's a lot thicker, there's a lot less chance of it being, corrosion getting in past the coatings, because the corrosion always gets in past the bolts.
Yeah, we've had trouble with the bolted ones.
We even have some minor issues on our new tanks. I had them dove again, because I'm staying on top of that stuff with the new tanks. But the hatch on top is starting to rust, and there's a place where there's water intrusion that gets in, but simple fixes for us, because I'm staying on top of it, but, we don't want the corrosion that we're dealing with on the old tanks, so I'll get, further along with that. The telemetry upgrade, the part that we did, a total was $12,439, I need to get a total on how much more we could spend. Then I'm gonna start working on getting, you guys wanted the generator here for the office, for backup generator, as well as we gotta start buying batteries for all the sites, the right size batteries, as well as solar for McGee, and a taller antenna for forestry so it communicates. So I waited till all the programming was done, so then we'll get a total, and I'll start working on getting that other stuff that you guys approved.
So once you get a total, then I need to transfer the funds from,
As of right now, the total, according to Linda, is $12,439.35 is what we spent on NES and the programming and the computer upgrade and all that stuff.
12,000 what?
$439.35.
And that's what we've paid out of our operating fund?
Yeah,
So we need to
and that's
transfer,
coming from the replacement fund,
Mhm.
USDA replacement fund, whichever account was the one that, bought the telemetry to begin with.
which,
I would recommend that you transfer each invoice separately so that we can track it, so.
okay, well, yeah, we'll have
So you'll just have to get with Linda and get all the invoices, I've had her keep them, so she'll know, and then that's a good idea.
I mean, you could do them all at one time if you want, but you should break them down into separate so that we know, how much each thing was.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is, I told you guys about the oil and mineral guys. I talked to them again, the guys that bought all the mineral rights on Cold Springs and, a bunch of other places up here. They came back out again, I took them up and showed them where our spring is, which, by the way, our spring is not flowing water anymore. It's a mud hole now, there's no flow at all.
Up at Cold Springs?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
It's still wet, but there's no flowing water right now, but, they had said, look, they don't know what they're gonna do, they're trying to find a way to pay the taxes on what they owe. They may start doing some stuff like, whatever, cattle grazing, not necessarily here, but in all their properties. Cattle grazing, leases, different things, but they said, would your board be interested if we decided to in the future to sell the property? I said, well, historically, the board has been adamantly opposed to any type of sale of anything that we got. But due to the remote location and stuff, it never hurts, you guys always have the right to present an offer to the board. I said, the board makes the decisions on that stuff, so if you guys decide in the future you guys wanna do it, you could bring the offer. I said, but just so you know, my board has never wanted to sell any of the assets, so, just so you know, that's, was the topic that had come up, but they're still not ready to do any of that yet. They're still looking at a lot in, as far as the mineral rights go. But they said if they're gonna keep the mineral rights, they're probably gonna wanna consolidate groups of land, as much as possible. The stuff behind the Wind Wolves Preserve, they're leasing grazers. They've leased some property down by, valve. So that's what they would probably do if they didn't have minerals up here, but, so just so you know, that was a conversation that I had had.
Is there a reason this one didn't get signed?
Yeah,
It's not that the board has never wanted to sell property, we actually considered selling that property to the owner of the
yeah, okay.
house that's on our
Yeah.
property, but he wanted to give us so little
Yeah.
that we weren't.
And I
interested.
agree, but I know as a general manager, I never, imply or give the impression that I have any kind of decision-making process at all. And for them to know that they have to come and present it to the board, so that's why I'm bringing it to you, that the topic had been broached, and I just keeping you guys informed. The next thing is, I went to the meeting for the Lake of the Woods, construction kickoff meeting. USDA was there, Dan Johnson was there, great to see him again. Robert Nielsen was there, good to see him again too. They were starting to kind of sway towards, maybe due to money restraints, go to regular meters out there instead of smart meters. So I spoke up about it. Robert also, started talking, he agreed that it was smart to put in smart meters. They liked that idea. Then Robert asked us, where we're getting our funding. I said, we're, with the state. He said, well, why don't you apply to us also, which Dave will cover. Why don't you apply to us also? I said, because we don't really want to incur another loan. And he said, well, we could probably do grant. So Dave's gonna bring up the subject of maybe some matching funds or
Nice.
some type of application process, correct?
I can just briefly speak on it,
Yeah.
is that, Lake of the Woods, they got a grant of money from the state, they just matched it with a $1 million, USDA, grant. But if you just, so it would be a match if you get state funding to match, as much USDA funding as a grant.
Cool. So we could also try this with annexation too, to get them to chip in, because Robert Nielsen likes us, and, he wants us to at least try with USDA, so we're gonna do it. And I would like to try to do some kind of, even if it's a small, I don't know how it goes with trying to get the engineering for a small, mainline replacement, but if there's a chance to get some funding, maybe we should keep it small and maybe just pick a street or two or four, whatever the experts say we should do, and start trying to do a project for funding for some mainline replacement while they have some money. So we'll, again, discuss that later. John Vandenberg called me today or yesterday, out of the blue, asked how the rate study was going. So it's going good, but there's a lot of people really upset about it, because it's really starting to hurt the people on a fixed income. And, I said, there's been some discussion, nobody knows what they're gonna do, but maybe holding off on the annual increase. And he just about had a fit. Said he stands behind his figures, stands behind his study, says that if we do that, we're gonna regret it, that we need to stick with he said, that's the problem you guys wound up in before, because you didn't stick with what the people tell you should do. And he said, if that is a topic down the road, I would like the opportunity to come and talk to the board before anybody makes a decision. I said, nobody's made any kind of decision. It was just some discussion. So if the board wants to, then I'll let you know when we're gonna bring up that subject, so.
Well, we have to talk about it before January, because that's when the increase is supposed to come through.
Yeah,
And we're
and,
gonna talk about it tonight, aren't we?
Yes,
well, yeah,
it's on the agenda.
It's on.
so we can discuss it then, but I just thought I'd throw out the conversation I had. And then the last thing is John Dill repair. I the water washed out his yard, steep hillside. I paid Santana to send Santiago up here with his backhoe. They cut open the fence, we went in there. Between me and him, I took the little skid steer and actually went down the steep hill, but I didn't know about my skill level or anybody else's, which is why I had Santiago come, safety's sake. But I learned enough, and we fixed it nice. I took pictures, we put wattles across it to keep the erosion from happening. He swears he's happy. I have to talk to Cece at JPIA now on Monday, about whether or not he could withdraw his claim, so JPIA don't have to pay nothing, because it's a relatively small amount, probably $500 for Santana. to keep our rates from going up or whatever. She said she would discuss that. She had gone on vacation, so that's why I'm gonna talk to her on Monday. And John swears, you know, he was really happy with the work that we did, so hopefully he sticks that way and he'll sign a waiver and then we'll be okay with it, so. And that's all I got. Oh, no, one more thing. Cal Warren. Some of you guys, you know, dealing with that. Rancho Mirage at the AWWA convention, which I didn't ask you guys if I'd go to, dealing with California Warren. I think I should go. It's 163 miles one way down there. So I still take the work truck or whatever, but I think I should go. I think whoever's interested in that on the board probably should go and discuss. You can see what's going on there, but it's this month. I just got that. It's on the 23rd. But definitely I'll go. It would be nice to get a room when I'm down there, not at the convention thing, because it'd be cheaper. But you guys would have to just direct me instead of voting on it, because it's not on the agenda. But
Where is that place? Where is it?
Rancho Mirage down by Palm Springs, I believe. I think it's time to learn a lot about what we've signed up for and hear the stuff, and any board members that want to go, that would be a good opportunity for you guys to go to, the people that, especially on the ad hoc for the mutual water companies.
Because that Warren, that's for like in the event of emergency, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A pooling of resources. right?
Yeah. yeah, sending our men and equipment and everything to other districts, so. That just came up, it came from AWWA on an email that's saying, hey, we got this going on too. Like I said, they were having their annual convention, but I didn't wanna convince you guys I needed to go, so, but since that came up and that's free, other than just going down there, I figured I'd bring it to your attention. Figure at least one or two of you might wanna go as well, but
What is the date? What is the date?
October 23rd,
which is a weekday.
Wednesday, yes.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah, and also,
And how long does it last?
Just that day. The convention. will
1:30
last all
to
weekend,
5:30 it says.
So it was a Tuesday.
I just made an appointment that day, I don't know, I have to think about it.
It's a pretty far drive
It's in
to go
Bakersfield.
down there, but, we signed up for it and I have very little,
Knowledge.
firsthand knowledge of exactly who it is and how it works, so I think I need to be there. And as long as nothing from the district stops me from going, but
Director Scholler.
We should also talk to the other water committees, cause that's the whole thing of us having that bigger water meeting, is that if for any reason the directors from here couldn't go, that if someone else could go and report to that meeting, because that's one of the things on our agenda.
So, yeah, you could, make a copy of it and pass it around through your email chain or whatever. I can't scan nothing to my computer right now. I had to change my password on my computer so the scanner won't scan to my computer right now, but,
Well, I'm all for you going.
okay. Should I get a room?
I don't see why not, I mean, that's a.
I may get down there, I may feel like just coming home, cause you know, I hate being away. I
Yeah,
may just come back if I feel fine, but if I'm, you know, too tired or whatever, then I'll get a reasonable room, but,
what does everybody else think?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I wish I could go. I don't think I could take off work.
Yeah,
I think I could either.
Does need 3 signatures, who needs another signature?
gets over fairly early, 5, but that's right at traffic time, and, you know, it's driving 400 miles in one day is a lot, so.
it's a very lot.
Yeah, I'm okay with you getting one, I think it's warranted.
And then we'll make sure that we let the other, water companies know too, maybe one or two of them.
Rancho Mirage is 200 miles?
Says 106, I Googled it, says here it's 163 miles there, 163 back.
And you're going through
The worst,
Yeah,
the
it's
worst
bad
traffic.
worst traffic ever. And going down, since it starts late, it won't be bad, but coming back, that's right, crunch time, so.
Yeah,
Cool.
Actually, I'd be going the opposite way, but.
It's all bad down there nowadays.
No restrictions, for sure.
I think we should try to send something to the other, maybe Tiffany, would you be able to do that, to just,
Connect with-
talk to the other water companies about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I
guess
just send it to everybody.
if no one else can, I mean, I don't know, maybe they could send you something saying if they could go, if anyone's
I
gonna
got
go or not.
appointments on that day, so I can't go.
Mm-hmm.
I could change the appointment I have, but I would have to know, but I can't stay
I
down.
need to make my appointment.
I got a job I'm trying to hold on to.
Me
Okay,
too.
we can, go to, Tiffany.
It would be cool to go. With you.
The convention would have been cool to go to, and I will ask you next year about going to the convention, but.
I have a question. On the shut-off notices, so far this year, we had 265. How does that compare to,
I'd have to look again, I mean, I can look while you guys, when we get to another topic, I'll go in and pull up the manager's report from last year. But I think it's, not drastically more. As a matter of fact, sometimes it's about standard. We're definitely less than we used to be before we started charging for the 48-hour notices. We used to have 60 or 70 a month when we didn't charge for them. When we didn't charge the $25 a month. People used it as a way to be reminded to pay their bill. Since we started sending out the month ahead of
It's a human
time,
condition, for sure.
since we started sending out the month ahead of time warning, plus the 48-hour notice, it's kept it down to where it's not too drastic, but Tiffany can cover her stuff and I'll call them out.
So in 2 weeks, October 20th.
Oh, wait, before you go, I wanted to say one thing. Johnny, we replaced up on Elm, about 60 feet of new distribution?
Almost, yeah. Yeah, I forgot to cover, I
Wanted to
forgot,
put that on the record.
yeah, I forgot to cover that. And in the next, if time and weather permits, we're gonna try to rent an excavator and replace more of the PVC on Elm before there's a leak. Because we're tired of having these leaks. And when we had that 30-hour leak and we figured out finally how to shut off forestry and get a shutdown, now we replace sections instead of clamping.
Director Schomer?
So I still have a huge problem with this, although it's been a number of years now, that we paid someone up
See, nobody
here.
knows what was replaced. There is PVC in the road. There's PVC and there's steel. And there's parts that are PVC that are tied into steel. And that's kind of what we're replacing now. So even though that's a sore point for us, when it was supposed to have been replaced, nobody, including Santana, who did the work, knows what ECO was paid to put in the ground and where it was supposed to be put in. So there's really nothing we could do about it at this point, other than do what we're doing, which is replace as much as we can and fight the leaks that do happen, because it's been a very long time now since ECO was even a manager of this company. When did they go out? 2008, 2007, no, 2006 or something?
2006 or 5 or 6.
So it's been a long time since that work was done, and, we have no as-bills, we have no nothing.
Well, it was just a hefty amount of money, and I'm a little, I mean, I asked Billy, and
Billy,
I know I asked Billy when you guys went in there and dug, what was there, what he saw that was there.
that's what I'm saying, but when you have 4 pipes in a road, small pipes, big pipes, and you just know that some PVC was put in there, and we have some PVC, but we also have steel pipe. We have no idea by looking at it if it was put in the 70s or 80s or 90s, because it's PVC, or if it was supposed to be put in there and it wasn't, and the steel pipe is still there. There's no way we can tell, because nobody that works at this company worked here at that time. We weren't part of those projects, so we have no idea. All we know is what we do.
I know,
And your document,
think I wanna talk about it, in a public setting, but,
We can
Because
vent later.
no, I'm
And it's
saying,
frustrating to me as well.
I'm saying we probably should have sued somebody, but we didn't.
And it's past the point of where we
Yeah.
can, so.
We just need to move on. Okay.
Okay. Administrative Assistance Report.
Okay. 2 weeks, I'm going to the board secretary conference, and I am going carpooling with Jessica from Lebec, Pam from Kristen Lake of the Woods. So we're splitting the mileage 4 ways, so
Yeah, I
that,
saw the check in there already.
yeah, so that puts, it saves us money, saves everybody a little bit of
I
money.
mean, nice ladies, you're gonna have a nice
So we're
time.
doing, yeah. So that's a good thing. And then, I put up the board information on the website, and I was wondering if you guys looked, or you want me to pull it up real quick? The pictures?
I didn't look.
Yeah, go ahead and pull it up.
It'll be quick. Okay, website. And then I go to Board of Directors information. And wait for internet.
Another fast internet.
And yeah, this is what we go through every day. Okay, so go down. Okay, it's freezing. There it is. So in a second, when it loads correctly, there you are. So it's a carousel, it's a rotating pictures. And the only thing I'll be adding
Oh, that really
is,
looks good. That's the best looking one and,
That is a nice looking one, Drama.
they'll want me to add contact information, so the only thing I'll be adding is your email addresses, district email addresses.
okay,
So there we go.
perfect.
It was nice.
Looks good.
Good looking board.
I like the one on me.
It's coming.
Okay, just so you know,
That was-
2017, same time of year, we had 393 shut-off notices.
So we reduced actually.
And then I went back to 2016, same time of year, and we had 318.
So we've actually had a reduction.
So we've had a reduction. And I think part of that is due to that warning letter the month before. So that's a good thing.
Thank you.
I would have expected it to be higher, to tell the truth, even a little bit, but apparently not.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
okay. Anything more?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um, I do wanna add in, I guess, I'm not sure where this would go on the agenda for next time, but it has to do with the manager and, the possibility of looking into, we do like a 10% late fee. Now that our fees are so high, the 10% late fee is pretty expensive. So I think that that's something we may wanna look in, especially if we raise one more time, that it starts being a pretty hefty amount if somebody's late.
And there's a few things that I want on the next agenda as well that goes along with that. I'm good with that. I also think that there's been some situations where, people have paid consistently all, I always go back, I've waited sometimes if they have a history of no lates and then all of a sudden they have a legitimate reason of why it was late. And the other thing was, I had a couple people that had a leak while they were gone, I would like you guys to at least entertain the thought. You know, like this one old couple, they're on fixed income, they had a bad leak, they didn't know about it, they fixed it right away, but waived the wasted water, like a time deal, like if under extenuating circumstances, if the water could be waived that they had lost, even though it's not our fault. Sometimes with the rates the way they are, if they get a $300 water bill, it's almost insurmountable for these people. Now, if they're historic water leakers, water wasters, that's different, but if they have a leak, I
Yeah,
think,
we'd have to have that on the.
that's what I'm saying, so.
And we have to do a whole big policy on that because
Yeah, so
we
maybe.
need to put some really strict parameters around
Well,
that.
well, and that's what I'm saying, so maybe we could do it all at the same time.
I think in conjunction, because we're probably not gonna finish the discussion tonight on the rate increase, maybe we can put it, that kind of, those questions in conjunction with rate
Yeah.
increase questions
Yeah, we just need a little
next
more
month.
clarity and maybe a little more leeway is all, so.
Okay.
Okay. Ad hoc, meeting of, local water companies. I can say that, Lisa and I, we went, it was over my head, I didn't understand nothing about the solar. And I hope,
It is that a lot of my ideas of, solar are not realistic for some things, because what I came to understand is that you're always connected to the grid, no matter what. So what happens is if it's an emergency, the only, it doesn't do you really a whole lot of good in terms of hoping that your solar's gonna run everything. It's probably not, and it's not gonna be,
Cause you can't store it.
because you can't store it. So you might be better off trying to do some large battery in conjunction with, because that's really the only way. If you were doing solar, you could recharge like a battery and have these like huge batteries, which do exist. They actually do exist.
They just recently have developed the batteries that could do some longer term storage, but I don't think you can get it for, high amperage draw on like a well, but you
yeah,
can
no,
work
they
for
were
stuff
saying
like
that they are
this.
putting them in.
You actually
down.
The
can.
batteries now?
Yes.
Yeah, you actually can, but I don't know what the price is.
I think Tesla came up with those, yeah.
Yes,
But battery technology's changed considerably, so there are companies that are doing it, but like some of the companies that I thought were using solar in a different way, really using solar just to kind of offset some of their costs.
their peak,
Yeah,
their peak,
on like peak
that-
hours
yeah,
and
the peak
stuff,
hours
so.
is what they're doing.
Which would really help us if we could do that, but would the cost of the solar
That's the,
equate to more a month than what we're paying now? Cause that's always been the case.
yes,
Yes.
probably,
And do
potentially
you
at
rent the
first.
equipment or do you buy it?
You can do
either.
both. So the what came from the meeting is that every single company has a completely different situation, and so we could potentially benefit from small solar systems at our different sites. Maybe for running some stuff, but maybe not in recharging the batteries that we're gonna get. That would be backup batteries, but we should
Well,
really talk to the companies.
And we kinda already have that, and we don't need a company to do it for us, really, except for a one-time installation, because it's not that big. McGee is set up like that, it's just a residential solar panel and battery system where it's supposed to be a commercial, and that doesn't work.
Which is really enough as just a small commercial. Anyway, we should talk. I have the guy's card that came
Yeah.
from Bland, but we could talk to some other companies too.
Shouldn't
But
there be
it's-
some kind of grants available for going green?
That's what I wondered all this time, but everybody I know that's done it has even gotten rebates from the electric companies like, Jan DeLu, from the Tri-County Watchdogs.
Uh-huh.
When I asked him how long it would be, I said 5 years, 4 years. I said, how long does it take you? He said, I'm putting energy back in the grid. I said, how long is it gonna take you to recoup your cost? And he laughed and said, at least 20 years. He said, you don't do it for the cost savings, you do it to help the environment. And that was just on a house. so.
Yeah, but I'm
There's
sure
some-
things
there's
have
some
changed in
savings,
5
but,
years.
yeah.
I mean,
But again, I mean, our electrician can upgrade our solar panels without having to go to, but, yeah.
There is some funding I've seen that the state is trying to counter carbon, emissions, so there is some funding.
I would like it if they funded it.
So yeah, so the kind of what they were saying is, like, for Fraser Park at least, it would be better for us to do like a whole bunch of smaller, panels in different places and recharge the batteries that we're considering buying, so that we could have emergency stuff, and then probably something to recharge, like a large, if we were gonna do we would still want a large battery. If we were gonna do it for emergency reasons, we would need to have big batteries that we were recharging.
It would have to be massive for.
Right, and they do exist, and that was something that we could look into. So they have like that particular company has a commercial end and a more residential end, and we would wanna talk to the commercial people to, because there are companies, more agricultural companies that are doing it right now, not so much water companies, but there are a lot of agricultural companies that are employing very large batteries and then they're recharging the batteries. But they're also using solar, like doing a huge field of solar and then selling it back to the.
My personal belief, because 4 years ago, you guys directed me to look into solar, which I did. My personal belief is that solar is a great thing if we can get grant funding to do the solar. The batteries, that's hugely, expensive, but if the state pays for it, we take it, of course. But it would help us if we didn't have to buy the solar. It would help offset the cost of rising energy to help us throughout the day running stuff. We already do the recharging of our batteries at 2 sites. The other sites charge whenever the power's on, and with the right size batteries, it's gonna last for an week. It'll last for days instead of just hours. McGee only lasts for throughout, part of the evening, and then it drops signal every night because it's under some high draw amperage wells and boosters. As a backup, I think we would be better off with backup generators
Well,
at the sites.
they were talking about actually being able to charge the generator, so, but with so you would have like a battery that charged the generator, then the generator would go for emergency purposes because there isn't
But
really.
you don't charge the generator. The generator runs off of power and runs stuff. There's nothing to charge on the generator.
Well, you would run it off of a battery if we lost electricity, because we were talking about for 2 different things. One was the emergencies, which the only way you could really deal with emergencies would be to have those generators, because it's probably out of question for us to have like a really huge battery that was trying to like do something, so we would have to run a generator, but because the grid would be down, like that would be something where we would have to charge something that would then run the generator for a certain amount of time. So that was.
I'm not gonna be the naysayer. Generators are all gas, propane, operate. That's what generates the electricity. And right now, we have the 1 generator. We should get another smaller towable generator, maybe at a couple of the more critical sites, 3 or 4, put stationary generators there with propane in case the infrastructure's messed up for natural gas.
well, shouldn't we have the fences up first before we do that?
Yeah, but I've been trying to get a draw for that. I mean, a quote for that. But like Wolf, I was looking at it again today, you can't even physically, unless we own the whole hill all the way down to the road, there's plenty of places, there's no place to put fence posts. But people are still going up and down. Today, there's a 12-pack of beer, empties, scattered all over our site up there, hanging out at Wolf Tank and drinking. But where they're coming up the hill, I don't know where they're gonna put the fence post. And we couldn't fence it continuously, we would just have to try to fence as much as you can and then break off where it goes around rocks and whatever, we could fence off 3/4 of it or more. But anyway, I'm trying to get, Lou has been not showing up when he's supposed to.
Okay.
And
I
so,
think they were still saying like a battery that runs the issue was trying to get propane and gas up to sites, like if you were trying to, if it was a real huge emergency, it was like multiple days, it would still be like charging a battery and then a battery running stuff.
Like I said, I mean, I'm willing to always talk to them, but when I talk to them, that's the answers that I gotten was solar would help us during the day, help us with our energy cost, but it costs a lot to buy them, so if we
Yeah,
can
and
get
they
a
were
grant.
saying, I don't remember it really sounding like it was that efficient for energy costs, right? Do you?
I to say it, in physics, I think it's the law of entropy. I mean, you can't, energy always decreases each time you create something. So if you use an electric battery to power a generator that's
doesn't make
producing, I
sense,
mean,
yeah.
you're really kind of, you're missing the point, because the battery will put out more energy than the generator will. But technology is changing all the time regarding batteries. So right now, that's probably the biggest reason why we're not all driving electric cars and, big trucks and things like that. I'm afraid I was not at this last meeting.
Oh, I thought you were.
I was at all the others, and I planned to be at the others, but this is the one that I missed. I'm sorry.
The only way to be efficient with the knowledge I had was if we could get grant funding for it, which is the way a lot of these schools and everybody, you go down to Bakersfield, almost all the parking lots are covered with solar panels
Right.
over the cars, but that's because they got grants for all that stuff. If you have to buy it, it's not effective because it's gonna take so many years to try to recoup that cost. It's gonna be way too far in the future. There's a lot of people who give it to you on leases and you pay monthly and you do all that stuff, but if.
And those grants are for big setups. You notice them
Yeah.
right here at high schools or at government centers. They're not really.
And running like one area, I mean, we're so spread out, it could run like the office, but that's not really gonna do us much good. Or it could run the yard here, which could do us, could help, but, I mean, it wouldn't run like all the sites and really,
Yeah.
But see, that's what I'm telling you, most of the sites,
it could be run themselves.
they're not all booster sites, they're tank sites, they have to run telemetry, which takes very little energy, it's milliamps instead of amps. Those just require the batteries that we buy ourselves and we
With
put
a
up our
little
own
tiny
solar
solar
tower.
setup.
And then that is solar, and that's working, it works for us. But we just need to add more and the correct sizes. People try to save money, and it's never worked for us
But that, anyway,
in the solar.
long story, that wasn't the issue was really for big emergencies where we literally could not run anything because we didn't have gas, and so they were talking about either putting stuff like we really could put propane in the yard and put.
Well, T-Mobile's been, since I got them to put their backup generator at T-Mobile tank, they have a propane bottle that sits up there, they got a generator that sits there, and when the power goes off, T-Mobile is still up and running because they got the backup generator. We would do the same scenario. And they've had that up there for about a year now.
But maybe something gets covered at that one thing, right?
No, I don't think it, Cal Warren is just
Um,
loaning resources.
oh, okay.
Anyway, it's like we could bring them out just to talk to us.
I don't even know why somebody that's a residential solar would have came and talked to a bunch of water companies about solar if they have a commercial.
Oh, they weren't.
They brought both.
They brought both, but mostly it was the commercial side that was speaking with us.
All right.
I just keep thinking about that house on Mount Pinos. It's got those huge grids on it. I'm like, how big would they have to be? I mean, that house is covered in, that big.
Well, they're trying to, put money back in the grid like John DeLue did.
Oh.
But he covered all his roof with it, all his roof base was covered, but still, it was only enough to power his house.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Okay, anyway, so that was that ad hoc, and I'm not making sense because I'm tired, so.
You're making
That
good
wasn't,
sense.
that wasn't real helpful.
Well, like I said, it was over my head. That's what the meeting was.
Anyway, let me just say about the other ad hoc. So, then I went to the, meeting, which I missed the last one for the,
GSA?
GSA, yeah, but I went to the formation meeting, or, where they finalized formation of the GSA between, Tejon, Castic, and Lebec. And, So that basically they just did a presentation, talked about, you know, that they were still forming stuff, they really didn't get that far. They got like a logo and some stuff that wasn't super meaningful to us. But, anyway, they have I don't know, I missed the last one, which probably I needed to be at, but they've definitely formed and they're in existence, and they're, talking about kind of trying to, right now, they're really deciding what their needs are before they even think about, someone like us that's up from their water system, and eventually they're trying to figure out, which is why I think they're interested also in finding out what our levels are and everything, to see if we affect them or if they affect us. So that's kind of in the future, but right now they're really dealing with just formation stuff.
Okay.
We have some GSA people.
Who are the GSA?
Tejon Ranch
Tejon.
and Lebec Water Company.
Well,
They've,
we have a whole division now. instead of
Okay,
just
'cause
water, so
really,
on
'cause that-
GSAs.
That was my question was for us, and what it would entail for us to form, you know, the same thing, and the price and everything, and I was under the impression that it takes like quite a bit of money, and, they were trying to tell me no, like initial formation is just the GSP that takes so much money, but that's not my understanding. But it's hard to know from them because Tejon paid for a lot of what's going on, so I'd be really interested in having somebody come talk to us about that.
I'll ask Maria.
And to give you just a little background, we found out that, it's harder for us to get funding at the time, maybe it's different now through you guys, but, because us and Lake of the Woods are the only two in our actual, basin. Although we're
low priority.
linked to the
Yeah,
lower
right.
ones, but since we're gonna take over Lake of the Woods, we're basically gonna be
Taking
the
over.
same basin, so there's nobody to draw the agreement with.
You're solo. Yeah.
We're solo, yeah. So if we could still get
Actually,
funding
there's
for
a
that, that
little
would be awesome.
portion of them that's in a separate basin, according to, or a separate sub-basin, depending on who you talk to. But according to the state, they're all separate basins, but then, you know, there's always, you know, that's still kind of up in the air, but they are, a little portion of Lake of the Woods is actually in the
Upper basin.
upper basin.
Well, Maria, who heads that division, she asked me for like a tour of Kern County, maybe this next week or the week after, but said I'm available. And when I get that set, I could maybe just set up time, she could swing by and talk with, I don't know, did you want her to come to a formal meeting? Most of our work has been revolved around, we've gotten money from the state, and we have a whole bunch of staff, but it's, the money is there so that we go out to disadvantaged small systems or communities that are in a large GSA. So Kern River folks, Kern County folks, those GSAs try to make sure that those smaller systems get representation. Ultimately, a lot of those larger systems that run, the people who run it are larger irrigation districts. You know, they've got the funds and they've got the staffing. They can do it full time, but the small little water systems that are poor, they don't have the money, they don't have the staffing, and they don't have the.
Thing with Lebec and Tejon Castic is the two of them are gonna have an equal vote, but someone like Krista, who happens to be in there, has no vote at all. They went ahead and did a agreement with them, but, you know, they're just gonna be, they can sit at the table, but they don't really have a legitimate vote.
And one thing the state brought up is if you're not in a high priority basin right now, you could have the state redraw the basins. You could petition for that, but then now you're gonna be forced to spend the money to do that. Whereas if you're not being forced to, you might not want to, you know, because of the cost.
Yeah, and if you aren't, we had a mutual, that's not in their, the Antelope Valley adjudication for the groundwater that's going on in Antelope Valley. They were happy, they were sort of left out. They're just north but they're still in the aquifer, and that aquifer still is an impacted aquifer. The state sends them a bill, $300 a well every year. Because, and they're the only, but they're not even a public district, they're just a mutual, and 50 users. So it's another $600 they get
Gigged all the time for it.
so it's either damned if they join the adjudicated basin, because then they're gonna be very regulated, and they have to pay fees.
And probably a lot greater than that $300 per well,
Yeah,
so they're still getting off cheaper than they would.
they did form that here, and you hadn't formed something, they'd be slapping fees on people's wells,
Yeah.
or water companies, so
It's complicated right now.
I'll talk to Maria, I'll see what she could, try to work up, get a hold of you folks and just talk with some of this information. Because I don't know a lot of that stuff. It's just-
Yeah, it's just our only, I think, concern, I know we need to move on, our only concern is that because they have formed there, even though they're low priority also, and we haven't, like how that might affect us too, so.
Okay, vote, discussion and vote on, the quotes for the document scanners.
You want me to?
Please.
Okay, so at last meeting, you asked us to talk to American Business Machines, who does our 2 copiers here, and see what they have as far as a document scanner. So it's in the packet. I gave you the quote that I found both for Linda's recommended machine and American Business Machine. Okay, so the first one, American Business Machine, he was saying the cost of the scanner, including delivery and setup, would be $1,195 plus tax. If we wanted to go with a service agreement on the machine, he said it's $395 a year. He didn't but he didn't recommend it because most of the parts that go bad are things like rollers, and he said that's not even covered under the service plan. Plus, in 3 years, you paid for the machine. And the likelihood of it going bad in 3 years isn't very high. So that's that, and then the one Linda was looking at, I kind of looked over Amazon, and it's about $940 on Amazon, plus tax. Probably no shipping because it's Amazon.
But no setup, right?
Yeah,
No, we
setup.
would just get it in the mail and probably have to call Bill Bice to set it up.
So it's about the same, gonna be about the same cost by the time you get done paying Bill Bice.
Yeah.
Why would you need somebody other than us to set it up?
I mean, we
That's a
could
good idea,
try to do it I mean,
because it's going
whoever's got the
directly into
technical-
QuickBooks, it's, you know, it's more complicated than just
a plug and play, I'm sure.
plugging it in.
Yeah.
Well, because I know when I was, because when I received the email, I went, that's a lot of money for a scanner. And then I had questions on how much do we actually scan? Because, I mean, this,
Well,
I mean, the
everything is-
Canon thing is like, 900 or something, or 8 sheets a minute or something, and I'm like, do we need something that big?
I think
Linda
we're gonna be
feels she
scanning
does.
more and more in the future,
Well,
right?
this thing right here scans better than anything for just putting stuff in the cloud and on the computers. But, apparently you need the Twain driver or something that scans it directly into QuickBooks. And the benefit of that is it cuts back on the audit every year because everything's already
You can get
scanned
their
in.
stuff to 'em.
They get a copy of it electronically, and that shortens the length of time it takes for the audit.
And also, this scanner, you can't feed little receipts in,
I
whereas these you can.
I
so
understand that.
It's,
But Twain, I mean, I know that my husband has downloaded that, you know, for our scanner and stuff, so that's why I'm like,
All I know is we bought the Neat scanners, they worked for a while. Then when Linda said that they wouldn't work any longer, I asked Tiffany to research if there is issues with that, with scanning into QuickBooks, and she found that there are. there are issues with scanning from the Neat into QuickBooks, because QuickBooks is one of the things that likes to bill you for everything as well, like RBS, upgrades and all that stuff, and apparently they don't support the Neat
Yeah,
anymore.
Neat was its own thing.
Their own
It doesn't
idea,
exist anymore.
and, to get it directly in the QuickBooks, I guess is quite the trick and the feat. I think you can still do it if you're savvy enough and you have enough time to do it. But,
What if you screw it up?
yeah, and we know that the auditors are not cheap. And when it takes longer for them to get the records and scan through everything. So I don't know, I mean, I was kinda shocked that it would cost so much money, but apparently that's what it takes in, business nowadays to get it in QuickBooks.
How bad do we need it?
All I know is what Linda tells me, and she scans everything, like all the checks you guys just signed, all the invoices. She scans all that stuff into the computer every month, and she says that we definitely need it. So I don't know.
And it would take a lot longer to.
We never used to do that. We never used to scan everything. We sent all of our original copies in a cardboard
Which
box
was
to
crazy.
the auditor.
Yeah,
And then-
but
and then you would need to-
we've got to continue to go into the future, so
Yeah.
we can't go backwards.
That's what I'm saying, the old way didn't work. It was very, high risk of losing stuff. It was also, it took hours and hours for the auditors to go through all the individual copies to find what they're looking for, whereas now they can just call it up, the ones that they need. And, so I'm a firm believer in the electronic versions. As far as which one's needed, I can only go by what Linda says.
Because, I mean, a box of stuff is not in our care and supervision, it's like
Yeah.
dangerous, you know?
And without fail, you guys would have a question about something, and you would need to pull that invoice, but we ain't got it, because it's been at the auditor for 3 months.
Mhm.
So that was an issue too. Or you could waste somebody's time for, weeks copying stuff before it goes, but it's not effective that way, so. I don't know.
Director Schomburg. So if we had the company that we're working with right now do it, it wouldn't be covered unless we did a service agreement, which doesn't make really a lot of sense for the cost of it. If they would only do setup, or would they cover it for the initial warranty period?
It does have a 1-year warranty. I believe that the American Business Machine said it has a 1-year warranty on it. So they'd be able to help in that year. So I think that's why he's like, that's a lot of money.
And one thing I'll tell you about Eric Schulman is, since we started using him, he gives you his honest opinion about whether you need something or you don't. And he doesn't think that we need it.
He doesn't.
He does not.
Yeah.
Not the
He
contract.
does
He did not recommend the,
Oh, no, the contract sound makes no sense.
the
at all.
He
$400
doesn't
a
think
year.
that we need that. And, he would tell us if we did.
We
But
don't need the contract, but we need the
the
scanner,
scanner.
right?
Yeah,
That's,
well, I think we should go with the scanner that Linda suggested, which was the American Business Machine.
No,
No,
she
he
suggested
recommended
The other one, the
Fujitsu.
Fuji, the
other
Fujitsu.
one. I
Director Schomburg.
I personally, I would feel more comfortable with the one coming from the company that we're already working with, because they've been really good to us. They've even found ways when we've had to get another one to give us a deal. So I don't know, I'd probably be more, as long as it was covered for that first year, I'd probably be more willing to go with them, because by the time we do the setup with Bill Weiss, it's gonna cost exactly the same amount.
Right, that's what this one is. This is the
I
Fujitsu.
No, this is
the
a Canon.
it's most like the Fujitsu is what he says.
Oh, well,
Right?
no.
No,
They're two different scanners. You've got the Canon and you've got the Fuji.
But at the bottom of the page for the Fujitsu, it says
That's different.
one that's $9.39 and one that's color.
they're just bought
$9.51.
together off.
That's on Amazon. They always say usually
Oh,
people buy
okay.
these
Yeah, this
together.
part here is,
I'm not an Amazon shopper, sorry.
You need to be, it's,
I guess I do, yeah.
I think we should go with the Canon. I agree with Lisa.
And they're gonna bring it, we don't have to worry about shipping, we don't have to worry about stuff getting damaged, and, they're gonna set it up for us, they're gonna make sure it's working.
I feel more comfortable too with it, especially since it's going right to QuickBooks and, like, it's just,
Now, I do know that Twain upgrades, so, will the Canon automatically upgrade?
That's a question to ask.
The driver would be on the computer, that would be upgradable.
Typically, all that stuff comes up just like any kind of printer or anything on your computer. It just does it on its own, it just does all the.
Yeah, but if it's old enough, sometimes it doesn't upgrade, like I have an old scanner, I had to go like on a special site to get.
Yes, I mean, this is gonna be brand new, so we won't have that issue.
I know, but that was what everybody said about the peak, and barely that, it didn't, so is this something that's likely to work for a while into the future, is I guess the other question.
I think he believed that it would last us a long time. He didn't see any issues. He said it was a good machine. His recommendation,
But he is the one who's trying to sell it to you.
No, he Linda requested the other one, the Fujitsu. You guys requested us to ask American Business Machines what their cost was. This guy doesn't try to oversell or sell anything. We asked him to provide a cost for something. He even told us not to spend the $300 a year on the service contract. He doesn't care if we buy it from him or not. Linda's the one that generated all of this and wants it, so I think I would believe what Eric is saying. Like Lisa said, he could have charged us for that other copy machine that we had, and he wrote it off at no cost, so we were able to donate it to school, so I believe what he's saying, but.
so she wanted to go with this Fujitsu, did she read about this one?
The
She
reason-
wanted
no,
to
the
because
reason-
she bought one at home.
Well, first of all, when she first brought it up, she didn't buy one for home. A customer of hers used one that she used, and she said, I need this one. So she sent it to me, so I ordered one. It was like $500, whatever it was. It got here, she said, no, it's the wrong model, so I sent it back. So then she said, it's like $1,000. I said, yeah, well, we're gonna take that to the board then and see what they wanna do with it. So that's how it all kind of got started. It's gonna last
Longer.
and it's not dealing with Amazon. If there's some kind of issue in the warranty period, or don't take care of it for me.
And then I
Don't worry about it.
And it's gonna be here, not at Linda's house,
No,
right?
it's gonna be right here.
And I also, yeah, she said she's been taking stuff home to scan it, and I don't think that that's such a great idea.
I told her not to do that. I don't think anything should ever go home.
That's what's been happening, so I think we do need it so that she does it here, but one of my questions was how long are they gonna business, and they didn't
Well, I mean, but they did
for a while.
for a long time, but we just happened to get in on the end of it. And the need was still scanning if you're doing it into their program. It would still be fine, but it's not working with QuickBooks, so. And that was right at the time when we were first starting to use electronic
Yes Church, they are currently hauling water, would benefit the regional consolidation and are a part of a regional project. I put, and are part of the regional project. And they said, I put in, Fraser Park PUD could apply for other funding, USDA, to provide connection/construction. And then I said the same for the Shepherd of the Mountains Lutheran Church. Because that's what you can do. You can go to more than one funding source and apply for, hey, these gaps aren't being covered.
It's another long process though, right?
It's something that you could put in. It's something we've done with before at USDA projects. So we could start, once this planning thing gets forward and you get numbers, we could put a preliminary pre-application in. And that gives them a, hey, we're on the radar, you're on the radar. And then you can say, they're gonna say, well, when are you ready to give us the final numbers so we can get an application from you? And that's time to sit down and really work with them. But it wouldn't hurt to work with them right now, USDA. It's a rural funding source, you're rural.
We're poor, we're
Yeah.
rural,
And
we needy, we're running out of water.
now, that said, they don't have millions and millions and millions of dollars, but anything you can get would help. So.
You better do it now.
And on the Connor water system, with all due respect to Mr. Connor, I recommend that it be included in the study. If you don't, then you're sort of hamstrung. If it comes time to, oh, he needs to connect, well.
Yeah, we've been discussing that.
It's, so the study can study it. Ultimately, you have, from all the planning work, because you get the planning money to do the study, do the environmental, and then you file an application. Now, filing an application, it may chop things out. Some people may join or may be left out. But the goal is to identify the project and then file for construction funds. Then the state's gonna hash out that whole construction application. So,
We still talked about him being in it in terms of something coming right up to
A T at the road.
the road so that he could connect, so we would still be planning for what flow
His
was
needs.
needed and
Yeah.
everything.
yeah,
It's just that he wanted too much that we weren't able to give because we would have to, we don't even know anything about his system, it's old, we would have to replace all kinds of line within his system if we were actually.
Well, he would have to, right, isn't that why back?
there's the convenience store there. I'm sorry, Johnny.
No, you're good.
He serves a convenience store
And the church across the street,
and the church across the street and the
and that
the
little.
Dog groomer.
dog groomer /
It's
storage
storage,
place.
it's not really a dog.
But from what I
room.
understand, they wanna be joining in,
Yeah, they've signed
Consolidation.
paperwork that they want to be included
Yeah, they're-
individually.
yeah, they're good with us providing them water instead
So-
of Connor.
So technically, you could use his customers, or I would think, that's something that you have to talk with. So, or at least the study, and such, so, I mean, I recommend including it and moving forward as fast as you can. However, they did say that, when I asked them, hey, when are you gonna, so when is this funding agreement gonna be ready? I asked Lawrence, the project and technical list you have drafted, is on the agenda tonight for the board. A question has been running through, and they said, and we're in the process of getting approval for the self-help technical assistance work plan. We have to do some out of the planning funds that we would do under our work plan. So it saves money on the project. I mean, and you can do some work in advance. And that work would also include getting some, test well pre-construction work. I think we talked about it last May. So and his response was, "Hi Dave, we should get Dee's comments too." So the only person who hasn't commented on these is Dee. And he's had it for, I think, 2 or 3 days now. So I don't know if he's there or not, but Lawrence asked that he comment by Friday. So, so Lawrence said, we should get Dee's comments also, or 2, And then he asked, estimate executed funding agreement in January. Because you folks might raise the question of, well, do we need to start having these special meetings again? I'd hold off on them, because, and I'd still recommend some work be done, like, there was, I understood that there were some people who have stood up and said, hey, we also wanna be part of this project.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I'm gonna give you a list of.
Okay,
I know.
so that could be added as part of the planning project.
It says in here that easements will be purchased for the project, and isn't that a possibility? Because we talked about, the test wells.
The last thing before the,
It's under section 2.
Page 3 of, page 3?
3 of 5.
3 or 5.
says, are there easements or land that will be purchased for the project?
I have 3 of 6. That's what Johnny gave them.
Oh, okay, so then you have a different one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is the one that was emailed.
Well, some of these things have been, floating around, so,
Well, maybe you got the most current one.
I think I did. I got the one that I sent late to, Lawrence.
But isn't there a reason that we wouldn't have to buy it because we're consolidating? Why would we have to buy it if we're consolidating?
No, we have to,
No,
no,
this
we're
is
talking
the,
about the test
for-
wells
for
here in
test
Fraser
well.
We're
Bar.
talking in Fraser
Well,
Bar.
but there's nothing to be, nothing that will be technically purchased. It's an easement that will be, so it just says right down here, some easements may be needed which will be identified in the planning project well site. Access and purchase agreements will be obtained for 3 test wells with support from the Prop 1 TA work plan, which is our work plan. So there's a little caveat in there. So the probably should just hit check no, but he put this stuff in here. He put that little explanation at the bottom.
So
Okay,
that's
Lisa,
just
the
not-
one that we're looking at
Yeah, it's
is
wrong.
incorrect.
Yeah.
It's been changed. Here's the more updated one. Which is,
So this isn't current?
Yeah,
Incorrect.
this one that we had is not correct.
it's just, there was
They changed it.
there was
to
stuff
the-
going back.
So I was like, okay.
Okay, thanks, John.
Actually, there's only 4, there was a couple of duplicates. Wanna say that?
So,
Fake stamped it. Tried, but it didn't work.
okay, so if it's not covering the full amount of the project, and if for some reason we didn't get funding from the USDA or someplace else, you're saying that that additional money is covered under your, no, because only like 29,000 is covered under the work.
This is just for the planning application, it doesn't have any, and we won't, and once the planning is done, or partly done, then we'll apply for this will allow us to apply for, or you folks to apply for, the construction money.
So what I'm saying is if the planning isn't all covered,
Part
but,
of what the plan was, whatever could be moved from planning to
to
construction
construction.
would be good, because then they'll fund it in construction, whereas because they wanna cut it down there. Because I believe after all the conversations,
Right,
Lawrence believes what's important needs to be added in there.
right.
Yeah, and he moved it to,
922,629.
So he's trying to push it through with the more additional
Well,
things.
additional money, because we needed definitely the 3 test wells.
Yeah.
yeah, and there's still an error here, cause it says on page 3 of 5 at the bottom, scope of work was reduced from 1.2 to under the 500,000 cap, see section B findings, but, so,
Where are you saying?
At the very end of, on page 3, 3 of 5 at the very
Right.
Well,
bottom.
no,
It says
it's
district
3 of
possible approval.
Said
Scope of work
500
has been reduced.
For 1.2 to under 500,000 cap, see section B, but then you go to section B on the next page, the findings, and they talk about eligible project cost, 1,210,550, and then it has parentheses 922,629.
Right. So, yeah, so the 500K should be the 900 and.
Wait, I'm completely confused.
Well,
Are you
that's
back on the other one?
Nope, the same one.
It's on page 3 of 5.
Yeah.
There is no 3 of 5, this is 3 of 6.
2 of
This is
6.
3 of 5.
Right, but this is the new one I gave you,
I
right?
have 1 of
Right.
6.
So it can't be on.
I have 2
Right
of
here.
6.
This one I
Okay,
just
so it's
got
on
here.
4 of 6.
Well, this one I just got from me, and it says 3 of 5 right there.
Oh, he gave us the wrong ones again.
Gave you the wrong one, I
That's
don't
what I
have
just
that.
got from Dave.
No, yep, this is the same one that we had.
I'm so confused.
We got the wrong one again. Oh, no, you got the right one.
No,
I mean, it's on
copied
page
some
4 of
stuff.
6, right?
She's got the right one and you two have the right one.
I have
Johnny and I, we got the wrong
Yeah,
ones.
I have 3 of 6, 4 of 6,
Yes.
So you're talking about on 4 of 6 at the bottom.
4 of 6, yeah,
And mine's got that in parentheses,
the 922,
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
so yours is wrong,
that's what I said. Ours is, Johnny's and mine are wrong, is wrong.
so just be quiet.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh,
Who's on first, right?
okay. No,
Because
no,
he
no,
was
no,
taking
no.
one of the stuff that was there.
No, I took what was on, I took what was here, and I copied it. This is the, sorry.
He was
Okay, I'm
trying to
thinking
rush
fast.
himself.
Okay, talk out, toss the 5 page one, this is the 3, this is the 3 of, this is the
Here, this
6
is
page
fine.
one.
Here,
Okay.
toss those other ones. Here, you can put them all here, so we can put them in the shredder
You
box.
sure, you really sure you want me back?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we do.
Absolutely.
We love to harass you.
See all the gray hair I got from last time? I don't know, I'm gonna be as bald as Carlos by the time I leave.
I don't know, I'm pretty tired, so I can't pick on you too much
It is
tonight.
maybe, here's financials for Thursday.
Anybody need a 6 page?
I do, for the board packet.
Everybody
No,
else?
I'm confused.
Okay, here's the
I
6
got the
page.
right
We
stuff,
got
right?
You got the 6 page one?
Yes,
Everybody's got
I
a
do.
Do you have the 6 page one?
Nope.
Okay.
See, if Terry had been like not nice and given me hers, you know, she had the right one and I have the wrong one.
Well, you guys need to know what's going on more than I do.
No, that's not true.
That is not true.
Because you need to explain it to me, dear.
Well, come January, you may be sitting here with somebody new.
Yeah, okay. They don't reference the, yeah, they don't reference the 500,000, it just says,
No,
the
yeah.
scope of work was reduced from 1.2 million, see section B,
Finding.
and then it's,
So 922.
922, which includes 3 test well, with 2, the intention is for 3 test wells,
To
one
do
was like a
2,
backup.
yeah, they were saying that we were gonna do 2 wet test wells at one time, and then if we needed the 3rd one, we'd do the 3rd one.
Third one, yeah.
Because we would get the information and then see if we meet the MCL requirements.
Yeah.
So why is there no explanation about the difference between requested and approved? Just because we know? Just 'cause we know, like, we're just
He's trying to
better
get the, he's trying to get,
Well,
although you go to the
he-
next, go to the top,
He's saying with the
Go to the top
budget for
page
a
on
third
number-
if
on number
needed, he's
5.
just not paying for it, yeah.
Oh, okay.
well, he has NA check, but has, at the top page of 5 of 6, planning costs revised to include minimum work needed to get construction agreement and final
Okay.
design.
2 test wells with budget for a third if needed.
Advisory report, preliminary
Okay.
report, cost estimate, CEQA, final and draft plans and specs, construction application. Water rate study, Prop 218 will be completed under scope of construction funding agreement. Well site pre-construction work, including access and purchase agreements, will be obtained for 3 test wells with support from the Prop 1 TA work plan, which is what self-help has. We have a technical assistance work plan that pays for our time and some of those other costs.
Sounds easy.
Yeah. Well, we still need Dee's comments on this.
Right.
So, that's the one.
He's
thing.
probably putting it out to postponing the second meeting. Can't blame him for that.
Okay, if Lawrence wants, this Dee to respond by tomorrow, which is Friday?
But he's already been notified by email, correct?
Yeah, he's been notified by email. Yeah.
Okay.
Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say, does somebody need to call him?
Then why
Yeah.
is Lawrence, if he's waiting for that, why is he saying January?
That's just you do all the paperwork, then their lawyer goes through and makes sure everything is in order, like it was in order this last March. And they told Carlos, he saw the lawyer sign off on everything, and then they pulled it. So they need to have their legal people review the agreement.
And we're starting the holiday season and things slow down.
We're
right?
starting over again,
Yeah.
cause that's what happened to us last time, is it went through the holiday and then they said no.
They kept kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
That's an issue that small disadvantaged communities need. I would recommend, you might wanna talk with somebody there, the state board, to say, hey, this is a concern, we're trying, cause you folks have been meeting since 2013.
Who do we talk to though?
Yeah.
We've already talked to, Lawrence, and Jesse obviously is all for this,
Yeah.
but he's not the money guy.
I mean, you could start with Lawrence and say, we've got some concerns, you guys have invested a lot of time. And there's a lot riding on this, you don't wanna wait for the water to,
Dry up here too?
yeah, it's been drying up. So I would start with Lawrence and just say, how can we get this thing so we're clear, we're not.
Well, I've been wanting to have this conversation, but I didn't wanna overstep my bounds, but I've said it many times in the meeting. We were asked by the state to take over Lake of the Woods, and they understand that, but they need to also know that there's gotta be a limit at some point to getting strung out down the road. Years of planning for something that we were asked to, because still, you look around, where's the neighboring community that we're helping?
Yeah.
Nobody's here. I mean, it's still us, so.
I told them
Lawrence
not
needs
to come, I told
understand.
them not to, Pam not to come to the meeting because of the.
Well, Pam's different. I'm talking about in general, there's plenty of people in Lake of the Woods that ought to be here and nobody comes. So we're still willing to help, but they need to understand.
Wait, there's Lake of the Woods?
I'm saying, but there's 400 houses there. And there's, however many board members. That's all I'm saying. We're trying to do the right thing and hopefully they understand that we need to speed this along a little bit and get the funding that they said.
But there's other
There's
reasons
the lie.
too, because our whole, like the whole thing with our Prop 218 stuff is that we were under the understanding, and I know that's gonna come up later, but we were under the understanding that we would already be in the middle of a planning process by now.
We'd be in
And
construction.
we're not, or maybe in construction. and
Or that didn't have
we're
anything to do with
not.
our 218 though.
It
Well, it
did, because we
because-
said we were gonna redo 218 at the point, and that it would get redone before we had years of our people paying these increased.
But at the same time, we told John Vandenberg to not consider that at all.
We did, I know he wasn't considering it, but we also told the public that we were going to redo things based on, the fact that we were probably gonna be in the middle of this planning thing. I don't know. Is there a way for us to do cause it's not something that, is there a way for us to just do a phone meeting with you and the board and
Sure.
Johnny and, so that we could actually, and maybe some representatives from Lake of the Woods if they were interested?
Lawrence would probably be willing to come here again. He's been here before.
Yeah,
He came and sat down and talked to us, so.
And, well, there's, I think Lawrence works for DFA. DFA is the division of, that does the funding stuff. And then there's people like Jesse who are out in the field, make sure you do all your water testing and everything is running according to the, the drinking water, regs. And then there's folks that manage our technical assistance that we provide. So it's a pretty good sized organization, but it isn't difficult. We should be able to have Lawrence pull some people together up there and talk with you folks to get in on a phone call, conference call. Usually we can get a hold of them and do a conference call.
Yeah, that's what I said, I think a conference call would be sufficient, we've done them before with them, you know, just to sort of, because I just feel like it's, like we're starting to go through the same thing that happened last year, and I just don't wanna see that.
But just so you know, from all the conversations I've had with Lawrence, with Jesse, with everybody at the state, it's still, they never refer to this as if. It's always, well, you're annexing Lake of the Woods, the annexation project. So Lawrence especially, obviously from pushing it back up to 900,000, he's planning on this happening. It's just a matter of his money people cut the funding, and now this new bill passed. Hopefully the other one's gonna pass in November, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's another water bill in November. Hopefully that gets passed, and then this is gonna go ahead and go forward, because this is one of the projects they want to fund.
Yeah.
It's just I would like to speed it along a little bit.
Right. We have the same frustrations. There is technical assistance money that was approved in the June bill, but we have a contract with them just for past technical assistance, and that ends in July. They want all our work done. If we can't do it by the 31st, to take it out of the work. Well, isn't there gonna be some kind of, meshing with the new technical assistance that it will move forward? And I don't know what kind of things that they have to work under, because sometimes they have to follow, the law has its own little quirks. But we get frustrated too, and sometimes we'll have conference calls, and sometimes we'll have our executive director go up and meet in Sacramento with their person who's running their program, and maybe even somebody from the board might be able to sit in on that. And that's, at least, then they have to take it back and try to make it work. They're a large, I'm not making excuses for them, but it just seems like the larger the animal, the slower or more difficult it is to act. But then I look at USDA, they don't have a lot of money, but if you get all the ducks lined up in a row, you can get it pretty good, pretty quick. So I know they have to work, the state has a whole different arrangement on how they operate.
Yeah.
I don't know about it, but I think reaching out and just saying, hey, we really want to move this forward. Can you give us some, we want to talk to you about it, and then you can bring questions and talk to those people.
Because I think it does, your comment is, won't this slow down the district's ability to submit a construction application?
Doing the $500,000, although they were talking about just 2 wells, was that, we'll have design in the construction. Now, Dee didn't like that. Dee thought that would be, and then Lawrence said, no, it could work. You would just get the funding in that phase instead of the planning phase. That was my question to Lawrence, and Lawrence's response was at the top of this email. The goal is to complete the engineering report and the environmental so they can submit a construction application as soon as possible. So that's still as a goal. Concurrent with processing the construction application, D could be completing the final design. The scope of work includes, and then I had a question about the scope of work dates. And this is the scope of work. And it had dates in the back that I said I thought they were pretty far back, like they're like, well, and I marked it up. I said, hey, you could make this a lot faster. And he made the point that this is part of the funding agreement. And he said the scope of work includes soft dates. If we are able to complete items sooner, great. These dates don't need to be changed, and there are no penalties for completing in advance of the due date. Let's keep the timeline as it is, so we don't need amendments if things get delayed and therefore cause another delay. So if you put early dates on it, like March,
then you have to amend, but my
funding
promise
agreement
is if we put late dates on, I think it has like D and other people like go, oh, we have until 2020.
Well, if you have a contract with us or agreement with us or any other contractor or provider, you folks aren't technically in the driver's seat.
So we gotta tell them, you know, I realize we have time, but we want it done by this date. Or, you know, as
Or
quick as
before this date.
possible, or whatever, yeah, I mean, not the date they set, by the date you guys set.
And he should be on the conversation too, because he is part of the planning. We have a whole range of different consultants and, that we've paid money to do work for on some, and some folks perform really well, some folks don't. So we don't have anything, we have a thing where we can just terminate the contract and pay them for what they've done. We don't do that. It's just, I've learned and I said, okay, I'm gonna find the person who works the fastest. So, but you can talk to the consultant and say, you could have agreement that, look, you gotta get this done. Or do you have the ability? It's really, a lot of people are busy. And so they need to be upfront with you, hey, this is more reasonable, or I can't do this, and such.
I just see it because then we get in this whole thing, because now the dates are pushing towards December 2020, and then we get into that whole thing of having to remove our application for the, because this already passes, I believe, any kind of dates that we had with the possibility of the.
For the annexation.
Annexation, which means then we remove that and have to resubmit that. So
That's
it
what we
just-
wanted to do, right? We wanted to keep on putting off the annexation.
We wanted to be able to put off the annexation until we had this information,
Until we had the construction funding.
until we had the construction funding too.
Yeah, that's
But,
right.
but the problem is that, yeah, then we have to withdraw, because what we did is they said, oh, well, you know, we'll put it off till here, till this date, and then you'll have to reapply, you'll have to pull it and reapply. Well, this surpasses the time when we have to pull it and reapply.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, we knew we were gonna have to do that anyway at that point, so.
We were hoping not, because we were hoping we would be in a point where we knew if we were gonna get money or not.
Well, we.
Right, well, we know now that it's not gonna happen.
So the dates are there, so that they are, please, of course, he wants the stuff to get done earlier, better. But would you be doing test wells in the wintertime?
If we have the winters that we've been having, we would,
Yeah.
because we haven't had anything that would prevent us from doing anything.
But there's no way to know.
Yeah, but I mean, for 9
But
years.
they are predicting it's gonna be a light winter, aren't they?
Our
That's what I
worst
heard.
winter was the winter we finished our tanks and we still did tanks at Sam Young in the middle of winter time with snow on the ground, so if it's less than that, we could do just better.
And I guess it also depends on the availabilities of drillers, because if it's a drought, then the drillers are gonna be busy, the bids are gonna be higher. I had a project that was that way, bids were higher. So we got that technical assistance money that can pay, that once our thing is approved, and that we did talk to them about it, they want us to make it a lot cleaner and finite, the whole language of the work plan. That includes the $27,000 for getting the easements, the legal descriptions, the test well sites. So once we can do that, once our technical assistance agreement is signed, so it can be done prior to the funding agreement is issued. So prior to or during, but we've got timelines that we want to get it done, so.
So
The-
what do you need from us? I mean, because
Well-
other than us calling the state.
Well, I'd recommend trying to set up a meeting with our phone call, conference call, just to review this. I'd also recommend talking with Dee, checking in with Dee and seeing that he, I could give him a call and stuff, but I'm not the district.
So a meeting with Sanchez?
We should do a conference call with, Lawrence and with
D?
whoever else, but
Lawrence,
but
D.
before that, we
Can
probably
you start
need
that
to talk
process?
to-
Sure.
The email with the pertinent people, and then, as far as Dee goes, I'll go down and talk to Dee next week. And, get the initial part out there, that, you know, he needs to make sure, if he doesn't have this reviewed tomorrow, like he's supposed to, then Monday or Tuesday, I'll be talking to him and telling him, man, you gotta get on that stuff. And
Well, yeah, because I mean, some of it is not the board that has been backing this thing up. I mean, it's the
No,
state and it's all the other people that we're trying to work with, it's been kinda,
Well, most of the people have been pretty good. Most of our contractors have been pretty good. What held us up, we were moving along pretty good until the funding was withdrawn. Then everybody stopped, including myself. I could have done some outreach, but as far as I'm concerned, if there's no money
Yeah, why?
promised there, I'm not doing it.
I get it.
You know, I've done plenty of work over the last 3 years trying to work on this. There's money
You've
there,
talked
I'll do
yourself blue
it.
in the face, right?
Huh?
You've talked yourself blue in the face,
I
right?
have, over and over and over again, and I like everybody we deal with. Even the state, they're nice people. We just gotta get the funding going.
Okay, so the next move is to
Would it
set
help
up a
me to
meeting
show up in
and Dave's
Sacramento and
gonna,
talk to one of them people? I drive up there, it ain't that far a drive. Hey, man, come on, what's going on here?
I
People have
think,
done that.
I think if we have a conference call with them as the board, cause it probably needs to come from the board. Too, and you, I mean,
Well, one doesn't exclude the other.
Mm.
You know, it would still be the whole board, but whoever I could rattle their cage. I went down twice to see Senator Fuller, but haven't been able to get an appointment.
she really reelected.
I think she is.
yes.
Probably busy right now.
And, but yeah, you know, it don't hurt to talk to all of them. Hey, what's
Oh,
going on?
no, is she? No, it's just been,
She has signs up.
oh.
In fact, we're, for Lake of the Woods, we're trying to get a groundbreaking going, and I think normal thing would be invite the local political representatives, including Congress people, state, local county supervisor, that kind of stuff, so.
So who are the local politicians? I saw that in the.
Couch still.
no,
No.
no. We are out of his district.
It was redrawn.
Scrivener.
Oh, we got switched.
We got
Yes.
switched, it's
That's
Scrivener.
right.
Oh, really, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And he didn't really want it. He just ended up getting it.
he just got it, yeah.
Who got it?
Jack,
Scrivener.
or Zach.
Scrivener.
Scrivener?
Wow.
He's up in Tehachapi. Yeah, we're lumped in with Tehachapi now.
Huh.
I'm gonna have to get there, but
Yeah,
yeah.
we're all Billy's.
Well, he was out here about a month ago, and.
Well, he came out to
and He
the,
seemed pretty enthusiastic.
Oh,
He didn't commit to anything, but,
well, he's up for reelection,
well, yeah.
so. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't,
those people have their own pot of, HUD money.
Yeah.
But I know in the past survey we did for this area, the HUD, we didn't qualify for HUD. So that's a pot of money you can't access. It isn't a lot of money, but
If
it's.
they'd ever do another, census, it would probably help us a lot, but they
I
never
thought they're
do.
doing one this year, aren't they?
No, they'll do it the next, 2020.
in 2020.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
do it
you know,
every,
At least that'll help
10
us.
years.
That'll give us some more.
Except that it's 2 years away.
Yeah,
okay.
But I
And
thought
then
we
there's another
already
year
got
after for the
reclassed,
county.
so,
but that don't count for USDA. The state recognizes it, but the USDA does not, right?
Right.
But
and
Lake of the
he's-
Woods is not HUD approved?
The 2010,
Mhm.
yeah, but unless you do a special income survey or do the next special income, the next, census. The problem for them is that they're a smaller community and you need something well over 50% response.
That chance.
Yeah.
And I started it in 2015 when they were not, and so we had to do it, and I was going up and down those streets.
That's some door knocking, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't wanna read meters there. And, there was just a lot of no doors and people wouldn't come.
Oh, yeah.
And then they
Well, that's why
then
it was so
the
hard to-
the most recent census showed that they were a DIC, so I didn't need to do it anymore. So I
Oh,
stopped, but, things could change.
okay. So are we ready to make any
Well,
kind of decision?
the other thing I wanted to just mention on this is that, our technical assistance funding with the money for the annexation runs out, July 31st.
Yeah, that's why we were wondering about these dates, right?
So,
Of 2019.
of 2019, yeah. So,
Well, that's right around the corner.
so any money that's not spent, the state says, goes back to them.
Oh, man.
Well, bring it, we'll spend it, but
Right, but some of that money is for like filing stuff on the annexation, doing
Yeah,
stuff.
it's all stuff we can't,
we
we're,
can't,
we're stuck in this.
this loop.
Now,
That's what
some
I'm
of
saying,
the-
it's
but
not
some-
support, we can't, we
Right.
can't push and have you spend it because it's not up to us.
And we don't wanna do the annexation unless we know that we're gonna get, it doesn't make any sense
Exactly.
unless we know we're gonna get money to actually do this project.
And it wasn't, now that was Rebecca, from the old Rebecca Moore.
Moore?
Right.
Yeah, but now Blair, he's the new, fellow, they still
Yeah,
have,
he was totally fine with us waiting, but it was, the dates were like in 2019, not past that. I mean, I think it's July or June or something of 2019, it's 2019, I don't know what the month is.
cause we had anticipated getting the,
Right, but that,
You
we were
function.
supposed to get it back in April, we've been pushed out.
Yeah, it was March.
And
March
basically,
and
they were
then-
really willing to work with us on putting it off and, you know, if we needed to, but again, it's just sort of this, then we lose the application, but I mean, it's not like a huge amount.
Oh, it's like $500 or something.
Yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just a matter of.
I think we
But-
were okay losing it if we absolutely had to, rather than get stuck in a annexation process that we couldn't pull back from.
but with the potential for additional people, you'd have to you could redo the map, right?
Well, we're gonna have to redo the map,
Oh,
once you
my
add
gosh.
those individuals in.
Including the LDS church, right?
Right, because the map didn't include
But
them.
luckily, those are small changes, it won't be that big of a deal, with
Yeah.
just those.
And, the word I've got from LAFCO is that you can take people out of the annexation, but you can't add them to it.
Well, then how are we adding them?
Well, we are because we haven't submitted, even though we submitted
We
it,
haven't
it's not a
submitted the
done deal
application
yet,
yet.
so it's like, and what they were talking about is just making the area continue, instead of having all these little, you know, pieces that were cutouts of just, you
Oh,
know,
okay.
making it a little bit,
Well, I'm getting
Larger,
loopy, I'm
right.
sorry, I'm losing my brain power here.
We still have several things left on the
Okay.
thing too.
I know.
So, I just wanted to just comment on that. I would just recommend, you know, that Dee be able to get that responded at ASAP, and then we'll set up a conference, try to set up a conference call.
so you're gonna send out some dates or to us, or how are we gonna set some dates now? or-
If you wanna reach out to Lawrence, say, hey, the board would like to set up a conference call with you and other people that are in part of this funding planning agreement process at the state level and local level, including Jesse. Did you wanna reach out to him on that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, and we have our conference call number, they have conference call
I
numbers.
mean, should we try to do it on our normal, like, Thursday and see if that would be a possibility?
And the next one is
Oh,
not
yeah, it'd be
until
easier during the
November.
day to reach out to them, huh?
Yeah,
And in that case, then you gotta go with ad hoc instead of the full board again.
Yep,
During the day.
yes,
Yeah.
because two of us work.
Me and Lisa.
I mean, I could get here for a couple hours maybe.
Can we set up some tentative dates now so that we could,
I don't see a point in doing that just as of yet until we get,
So he talks to Dee, right?
well, and everybody, you know, I mean, everybody's gotta,
Yeah.
well, I think they're gonna be willing, cause they need to be willing, cause we need to do it. So if we don't have, I mean, I think it'd be
If we
good
don't
to
have
have
a date in
tentative
mind.
dates, because if we don't have a date, how are we gonna even do
Say,
it at all?
Yeah, we want a phone conference on this date, at this time.
Or we could give them a couple possible dates. Like, I can do the 16th, if it's the two of us, I could do the
I
16th.
can't do the 16th.
Okay, I
I'm
can.
going to King Tut exhibit.
We can't do a Friday because it makes it harder, because we're not theoretically really here, so
The 23rd, he's,
23rd is the day of the thing that
thing here.
Johnny wants to go to that I
Yeah.
might need
And
to
I'm
be
not
going
available on the
to.
23rd.
How about the 18th? I would have to change stuff. Or the 7th, let's see.
The 18th
Actually, the 17th, not the, oh no, 17th is bad. Ugh.
The 18th is good for me. I mean, I have something, but I can cancel it or move it.
The 18th, I could, do it if it was in the morning.
Yeah, I could do the morning, on the 18th.
I could do the morning.
how early in the morning?
I don't know, like, I would need to do early because I have to be in Palmdale
Say
at
10?
2:30.
It would be better for me to do it in the afternoon.
Yeah, I can't do it on that day.
Are we trying to do it as a board or as an ad hoc?
Oh, okay, so if we're just doing ad
Oh,
hoc, great.
okay.
I don't know.
I mean, I
That's
think
the
we should
question,
probably
if
do
we-
ad hoc.
And if you do it with the board, then you gotta notice it.
Right, so it's
All of
better
that
if it's
stuff.
just me and Lisa as ad hoc.
Good, that works for me, because I can't get here until the
If you guys
afternoon.
are okay with that?
So I'll say 9 to 10,
Yeah,
right?
on the 18th, yeah.
Yeah, or even 10, anytime between 9 and 12 would probably be.
So
Okay.
it's just 1 week away.
Yeah.
Is there another date
Nice.
also? I'd recommend if you had another date, that might be more.
Yeah, how about the 22nd? Monday, 22nd.
I could change my appointment time, so we could do the same thing, or we could do
Or,
afternoon, I guess.
I'd have to leave just for a half hour between 10:30 and 11.
I have a
Because I do meals on the.
appointment in Santa Clarita at
Oh, what a
11,
nice guy.
how about the 25th?
but I can change that.
Thursday, the
25th's
25th.
worse. I guess we could do the same thing, we could do
On the 25th?
morning and change the time I go to Palmdale.
On the 25th?
Cause we're not having that second regular board meeting, so I can delete that, right? That's not happening.
Yeah, that's not,
How
I
about the
mean, if I
29th?
have to, I can cancel an appointment.
Probably 29th?
Huh?
29th.
29th I totally can't do unless it's an after.
Okay, 30th.
I could do the 30th.
30th I could do in the morning.
I could do the 30th. I have nothing.
31st.
that's Halloween.
Halloween, I can do it.
I could do, yeah, 31st.
It'll be a
I
very
can
scary
do.
time.
Bring
This-
chocolate.
This year Halloween is on a Monday.
In fact,
so it's the
31st
Monday
is-
before the
is good.
31st.
Oh.
Oh, it is? Oh, that's
Oh, it
what,
is?
that's
I'm sorry,
what-
Sunday.
The 31st,
Sunday before.
31st is on a Wednesday,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's whatever the Sunday is before.
But the 31st is totally free for me.
Yeah, it's a Wednesday.
Okay, so, we'll start with those, 4 dates.
Okay.
They are the 18th, 22nd, 25th, and 30th? Or
18th, 25th, 30th, and 31st.
18th, 25th, and the 31st, okay.
31st is the best day.
The 22nd's out,
Yeah.
22nd's not good.
okay.
Okay.
Why don't you prioritize these 4 dates?
Yeah, can you prioritize it starting with the 31st? Is that,
Well,
That's fine with
it's
me.
just then, the further out you make it, the further out the conversation's gonna be, and the further
I
out.
mean, there's so many people trying to say what's gonna be okay. You know, your prioritizing might be different from theirs.
No, what I'm saying is, you can't make the decision for them,
Yeah.
but at least you might have influence on your side of it. So if
And
you
that
say, this
gives-
is our first choice, this is our second choice, this is our third choice,
Got it.
I don't care those dates I said. I'm flexible. I'll just do whatever I need to do.
Well, thank you for being flexible.
and a lot of times, like, especially on Monday mornings, these guys have staff meetings. That they make plans for the coming week for their people.
I'm thinking.
Okay. Are we gonna,
Okay, so then
so
prioritize.
Johnny, I would just need to know ahead of time, so, cause I probably might have to change appointments.
You'd be included in any email,
Okay.
you would know.
Okay.
You just have to check your emails.
Thank you, Dave.
Follow 'em.
And
I'll include you in Brahma, so, and Dave and Lawrence and everybody.
did you folks want me to still keep proceeding on the, self-help degree, working on the, contact for other people with the
Yeah.
wells and stuff? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we gotta get that, you know, ballot, for lack of a better word, that's gonna suffice as the MOU for the people that are joining. So the new people that sign up, we don't have to go back again and have them sign the agreement. So-
Does, the attorney have that?
No, I think basically they looked at what you had written up before
Yeah.
and said that that worked fine for it, but we still have one, you know, one more.
So I'm still,
Director Sherman?
I'm still a little confused, so are the churches going to be removed?
No.
No, they're added in there.
So even though they're in there, so how does that, so they're not eligible, but how does that, so we need to get additional?
From USDA, right? Isn't that what he said?
For
No,
construction.
state.
The planning will study and Dee could use the numbers and calculates and all that stuff. They're just saying,
Oh, no.
for construction funds, they're not eligible.
Okay.
I thought they weren't eligible even for the planning though.
They're eligible to be studied, so I've had,
Okay.
I've had a planning projects that included, but when it came down to the construction application, they're saying, oh, wait a minute, we can't pay for their costs. So they have to apply for less money than what the project was.
So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
And then once
Jump off it.
once the final engineer's report says, okay, we're gonna put the test well here, we don't have to have treatment, the numbers will sort of gel. He'll have better numbers on where to put pipelines and those costs. Once you have those costs, including the cost to serve the non-fundable churches,
Right.
then you could pull those numbers out and say to USDA, we need your help.
This is what we need.
Yeah, so. There's stuff like that. So they can be part of the study. And part of the environmental, part of the annexation. And the state may change their rules by then. They may say, oh, they're eligible.
Right. Okay.
Thank you, Dave.
Sure.
Thanks,
Sorry,
Dave.
You took a very confusing subject and made it,
More confusing.
More so, yes.
I did my job, thank you.
Have a safe drive back.
yes.
Did we ever know what Fred Durso was here for? Did we?
No, he never said.
He didn't make any comments, so. Okay, discussion and vote on code of ethics and conduct policy.
Okay, next policy for the transparency certification. I don't know if you had a chance to look it over.
I did, I like the wording a lot.
I mean, I just take it from the template.
I was gonna say.
So I don't
say
do all the
it
writing
looked
work.
Boilerplate?
Yeah, very boilerplate, I think very all, maybe some common sense, you know?
Makes me want to be a better board member.
What are explorers? Explorers and volunteers in the district.
That's a good question.
I don't know, maybe,
I mean, it's a type of position some people use.
maybe we
I
get,
mean, it's all,
maybe we get Explorer Scouts in districts that, who knows?
Maybe since it's boilerplate, that applies to a
That doesn't apply to
different kind
us.
of agency, right?
But
So do we need to get it out of there?
I wouldn't think so, it's just boilerplate, we'll just leave it in there.
Right.
All
And if you have
encompassing.
volunteers, I mean, if you choose to have a volunteer to do something,
Yeah.
I mean, you need to have them.
We had volunteers helping us, like, undo the voting thing this time, right?
Yeah.
I guess that would be someone who is sitting here thinking about a position on the board, but not actually on the board. Would possibly be an explorer.
could be.
But are we gonna read this whole thing?
It's up to them.
seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's all the things that we say we're gonna do.
Yes, it's all the
Okay.
things that we should, you know, I will be ethical. In practice, this value looks like, okay, spelled out, awesome.
I provide friendly, receptive, courteous service to everyone.
Once in a while.
As often as possible. Looks like a good policy to me.
And this is gonna help us do what?
Get a transparency certification. So it means independent leadership foundation that
Yes,
oversees
looks us
special
over and said,
districts,
okay.
says that we're doing everything we can to be completely
Good
transparent.
housekeeping stamp, right?
It is, we'll get a good housekeeping stamp.
Nice, okay.
And Lebec got theirs.
Did
So
they?
they've been
Okay,
working
well
on it
then,
and they got theirs, so.
the race is on. We gotta do it.
Lisa,
I move that we adopt the, Code of Ethics and Conduct Policy,
I second
as
that.
written.
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 4-0. Okay.
Yay.
Discussion and vote on Public Records Act policy and guidelines.
This one I wanna read through because I know that I had some issues with it before. And I don't know if this changes them because I know we had started drafting one of these at one point.
We
It
started
wasn't-
with the form, so in your packets, the form that we had already worked on previously, but we didn't necessarily use, but the policy is new.
Ah,
Yeah, the policy had to do with, I had some questions about stuff and I wanted to see if it's in here and I didn't have time to read it.
And then everywhere where I was highlighting, you guys can let me know who you want me to put in there. Who wants to handle, if you want Johnny to handle the public records requests, or if you want me to handle them. We just specify, or we could put both.
Probably both.
I think we should put
Well, I don't see
you
any
and then
highlighting.
additionally, if you weren't here for some reason during that, I mean, we need both, but I think it might be better if there's a way of doing that easier.
Put general manager /
Administrative
Administrative
assistant,
assistant.
clerk of the board. Yeah,
Or.
Because we both handle it all the time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
did we discuss the cost in any of this work?
yeah, actually here, September 8th, 2016, it was the board's vote to make costs of copies 8 cents a page, and that was our cost from American Business
Okay,
Machine.
thank you.
And that's actually a couple pennies less than what a lot of people charge. Charge 10 cents.
Yeah.
I think Lebec's was a quarter.
Quarter page. That makes more sense, but just because you get people that request a bunch of stuff that.
I think it is I think it does need to be slightly more, only because it's also taking time of the I mean, you can't totally account for your time, obviously,
Right.
but it's not just the singular cost of what it is to copy, it's that you are now completely involved in the copying of stuff and we can't use you for other stuff. So if it's a really large request, which we still need to fulfill, but I don't know, it
Well,
might
in
make sense.
2016, that was 2 years ago.
Yeah, has it gone up?
Well,
again?
no, to also put it in perspective, we've had none that required any, big outlay of copying or time in the last, several years.
Right.
Right, but you have to be
So
aware,
we need to
you
cover
could
it
get
and
a
stuff
cons-
if necessary, but it's not like we have a huge,
But that does
Awesome.
happen.
But the
and
thing
that
is, if you have a
possibility.
constituent that wants to be difficult, I mean, we've
well,
had
they
that
do
in
that all
the
the time.
past.
I'm just
you
saying
know.
that we give it out typically very easily and readily, because usually we try to email it
Right.
to them or show them or something,
Yeah, that put the ball in their court.
I mean, the nice thing is that we're actually scanning everything now, so it's actually much faster and easier to
Most people
provide.
do, yeah, digital.
It could be very time consuming if you have to sit with the people while they're going over the
Mhm.
stuff, right? I mean, it could burn some hours.
Yeah, you could. I mean, Healthy Start dealt with that
Oh, I know.
for
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah. Yeah, she had to pay, for time of her employees. And that was just to prevent everything from being, from the security and stuff,
Yeah.
Says any fee established may be modified from time to time by district staff to reflect actual chargeable costs, and any fee schedule developed shall be made available. So so this can be changed.
But would it need to be changed prior to somebody saying they wanna come in and go through several stuff and it take like several hours? Would we have to make the change before they came through, or based on how much they wanted done? We probably couldn't do it that way, could we, right?
Okay, if you want 1
Probably.
page is this, and if you want 10 pages is that, and if it's 100 pages,
Yeah, but if you want somebody to be sitting by you while you inspect it for hours, there's a part on this second page, right?
Yeah, I've never seen it though. I don't know how many times whoever comes in here to sit at their table and look at records. And it's all digitized, so
Can I
you
make a
wouldn't. really have to-
suggestion? I mean, I'm not on the board. I would suspect that when this thing becomes a big issue, it's because somebody's planning on suing you. And it's a law firm that is gonna want 500 pages worth of.
And even then, it went relatively easy, compiling the records and sending them away.
I just remember the nightmare at Healthy Start, so I'm nervous about it.
I do have one other question too. It doesn't say in the records not open for inspection, stuff, and I know there's something, and I don't know what the wording is, if it, creates a, vulnerability of the system that
Right.
could be a, terrorist, it doesn't say that in here.
I thought,
But
let me
it's,
see, I
that's
thought it was
trade
under,
secrets, doesn't that?
Yeah, every request that has anything iffy in it goes straight to Ernest anyway. I do that
Yeah.
on a regular basis. And also, just so you know, setting a dollar amount for how much per page, the person that requested all the stuff from Healthy Start said that he didn't have to pay nothing, because it's only if you request a copy of it. They still can come in and sit there for 7 hours, and he can request whatever he wants, and you have to have it ready, but if you don't pick it up, don't have to pay it.
Yeah.
So,
But it's just the workload in like trying to go over the
Yeah.
stuff to make sure that it's secure.
yeah, but I don't know if we could, charge for that.
I mean, it doesn't, I don't see that it actually says the thing that I'm bringing up, is it, do you,
I think, under trade secrets, used in this context, not limited to any formula, plan, pattern, process, tool, mechanism, compound, procedure, production data, that's like if somebody,
Yeah,
but it's not a
That's all.
trade secret, because these aren't trade secrets. I'm talking about something, documents related to vulnerability assessment.
which when we took the Homeland Training for NIMS here, they spelled out a lot of the stuff that falls under the category. You know, any vulnerabilities in the system where
So does that cover it, documents related to vulnerability
I'm sure it does,
assessment?
yeah, because we'd be vulnerable.
They probably have someone you have to report if you suspect anything,
Oh, yeah.
like of that nature, you know, that you gotta report it to.
I don't know, that would be my only question, that and the amount.
yeah, and then I think 13 is almost like a really big bubble catch-all for that. So if we ever felt that the public interest served clearly outweighs
Right.
the public interest
Right.
by not disclosing it.
Right.
So if Johnny was like,
Yeah.
that's too much info on our system, we don't think you're gonna learn anything that outweighs telling you.
I think part of, I don't know if part of charging the copy is to not get frivolous requests.
No, I know.
So if we, marked it up to, I mean, if Rebecca is doing it,
25 cents is probably not reasonable, because I think that's a really crazy charge that like the post office charges for a copy. I think that's too much, but I think 8 cents might be not enough.
let's go 10 then, 10 cents a copy, keep it even.
What, 15, 20?
Or it can be evaluated if it ever becomes an issue, because right
Yeah.
now nobody's.
But then people
requested
could say that you're
copies.
targeting them specifically if you waited to change it until it came up.
Well, I mean, after the fact.
Why don't we
Oh my
do-
gosh,
why
somebody
don't we
came
do
in and
15
asked for
cents?
100.
Copy places do,
Yeah.
that are reasonable.
That's good to me, 15 cents seems reasonable.
Why don't you just say, put up a sign next to the copy machine, and you can change that sign every 3 months. And otherwise, you're gonna have to be changing this document every time you change.
Because I think
the
you,
price.
I think you have to state it.
A
on the-
specific amount?
I think so, right?
Yeah, you have to
I
let them
would.
know.
So when people
I mean,
come
it
in
would
and
have to be
request
part
it-
of our, what do you call that?
There's people that request are gonna, when they see that and they have to fill out what they want, they're gonna be a little more selective in what they want
If they're paying a lot.
Number 10, trade secrets and trade secrets, they can be written the same way. One has a cap and one doesn't.
Oh, because it was the beginning of a sentence. So that's why the first one's
the second one is
Oh,
capitalized.
okay, got it. You're right. Okay, so, I guess it's covered enough, so I'm gonna do the same thing,
Director Schomburg.
I'm going to move that we adopt the Public Records Act policy and guidelines as stated on this sheet.
With the,
Oh, with the one change on the request, well, the request form's separate, right? Or are we
Well, it's sort
adopting
of,
them
I mean,
together?
it's
Okay,
it's like an
so-
attachment.
So I would say is this attachment with the amendment that we, charge 15 cents per page for black and white copies as opposed to 8 cents a page.
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 4-0. And Director Schoenberg.
I move that we extend the meeting to finish business.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're elected.
At 8:56. Hopefully the rest will go fast.
Trunk or treat, yes, let's do it.
Discussion vote on participating in the trunk or treat at the Fraser Park Library.
We were requested, by the group doing the trunk or treating to, participate in the trunk or treating. And it's the water company,
For candy.
for candy, and, maybe if I could get it quick enough, like, little cheap toys or something to hand out, out of one of the work trucks and get, whatever. Well, I mean, it's supposed to be a pretty big event. They're gonna have a haunted house or something at the community center, and it's gonna be kind of a.
So you're gonna give them $70 and they buy the
No,
candy? or
no,
you
no,
buy it?
I'm gonna go buy the candy and then we'll
Okay.
wash up the truck and we'll, do the trunk or treating.
You're supposed to do a little bit of a decoration.
Are you
Nice.
decorating the truck? I mean,
You're supposed
Probably
to.
not.
Well, yeah, that's the idea of
The
the trunk
trunk,
or
to
treat.
make the trunk look cute.
Yeah, so you'd have to decorate the bed.
You can do it, Johnny,
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
in your spare time.
Oh,
So who is the group putting it on?
The library themselves.
Oh,
But yeah, they came in, they asked us specifically, and, we could use all the goodwill we can get, really.
Well, they seem to be going to all the businesses versus asking individuals. Because I know that
Well, I
we,
think
as
it's
a
good to
family,
be, I think it's good to be participating in the community event. I mean, it has to do with children, so
yeah.
I think we should.
I just picked that number out of the blue too. If I go and I get some good deals on big bags of candy or whatever, then,
Yeah, I
and
would,
at Costco, you can get a huge bag. for
I would
really
try to
cheap.
just keep it low, because I mean, I agree that we should participate. I also, it's the town's money that we're
giving
spending.
it back to the town though. See, that's the good thing about it. We're giving it back to the town.
Yeah, in cavities.
It's not so bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're supporting our local
But
dentistry.
you're not giving it back to the whole town, you're giving it back to,
I'll give it back to anybody who comes to trunk or treat.
I'll be there if it's chocolate.
All right. I'm always frugal, Lisa, always.
yeah, I just.
So I make a motion that we participate in the truck or treat at the library, and we authorize, no more than $75.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I think 75 is a little high, but.
We'll go more than that. Well, but if he's gonna need to
Don't worry,
to
I've
buy
never let
some
you
kind of
guys down yet.
some kind of decoration or something
I
to
think you
do.
can get this huge
For the-
bag for like $30 at Costco.
It's.
I've
I know
never
it's
let
a
you
lot,
guys
but-
down yet when it comes to spending money.
I can toss some insulin with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this is one that's gonna kill us. Vote, discussion and vote on the rate increase schedule for January 2019.
And in case you wanted the specifics, I threw that in there and highlighted what year 3 is, what that looks like. But it maybe you want to put it off and let John Vandenberg talk to us, or
Mm.
Yeah, I basically summed up what he's gonna say anyway. And, I mean, the water bill hurts me too, but. And, there's other people I talked to the other day on Montana, LA County Sheriff. They had moved up here from down south. Man, why aren't people complaining about the water bills? Way more where we came from.
You know, that's what my son said too, because they're living in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
And the people they live in say, we don't even get asked.
Yeah.
We just get the bill,
Yeah,
you know?
Bakersfield's less than us, way less.
Really, because he was
Depends on
talking
where
about it and they were,
Depends on where.
they were, they
My
got a
niece and my
pool.
nephew offer coffee and Hagen, they pay more.
But the difference is they have sanitation.
Amount of people, much larger
And they have
pool.
different issues than we got.
However,
Well, wait a
okay,
minute.
I would like to discuss this, I would like to carry this over, unless we have like a ton of stuff next month, for a couple of reasons. number one, I wanna discuss it in conjunction with the late fee, and I also wanna discuss it in conjunction with when there's an incident like what Johnny was thinking about, where somebody's, where it's like not really, I mean, we'd have to write some very specific stuff, but where it's out of their control, and I'd like to discuss it in conjunction with some sort of, you know, almost every company has some sort of, something for people that can't.
But that's why he's been trying to get hold of Diane Fuller, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look on the website for bills going, there's plenty of bills for energy, but I haven't seen nothing for water. But David told us that, I think it was David, no, Carlos told us a year ago that they were trying to push something through to help us, you know, low-income people with their bills.
Yeah, and I don't think they, either the governor vetoed it, or I don't think it made it to his desk.
Yeah,
I
so,
think it was maybe voted down, but I don't know, that's still. Could be.
So,
Because if you're not watering much.
mine's already at that, and I don't water at all.
That's what I mean, like,
But I have a family
mine's
of
over
5.
that too, and I got 3 people in the house, but.
I have a family of 5, so 2 kids.
Well, I know that, I pay about $67, here, and there's my husband and I, and sometimes my goddaughter. I work for a family of 5 in Santa Clarita. They're paying the exact same amount, because I asked, and she showed me the water bill. They're paying the exact, and they have a front and backyard that they water. I don't water. I mean, I don't water anything.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So I'm like-
But again, it's just like when people were trying to compare our water bill to Lebec's. It's trying to compare apples to oranges. Each district, each water company, each utility has its own set of bills and things that they have to overcome. We have a system, obviously, like I reported earlier, that's failing,
Yeah.
and we gotta put money into it, and we have been doing a lot more than we used to, but I still feel like we're trying to shove gum over a hole in the dike that's failing.
yeah.
And I agree, and at the same time, it's like, it's a balancing act, because we're a fairly poor community, so it's like, I mean, literally, my water bill's higher than any of my other bills.
What's the average
How
water
much
bill
mine was.
for, just, if you did an average for everybody, what would the average, do you have an idea what the average bill?
Probably about $75 right now, if we raise it.
I would
No.
never-
No,
not-
he's
not
talking about
currently.
before we even raise it. What it is
Before
now.
or right now?
Or maybe it's
Right
about
now.
75.
I mean, I don't water, and my bill is $65 a month.
The only number I have is anybody who pays their bill online, right now, we're averaging about $86 a bill. But that's for those who pay online, because that number I get, and I can,
Yeah, I mean, I've had
I don't know how many
people
other.
complain that it's higher
Average
than
water
the-
charge for active meters is $81.27.
Pretty close.
See, I,
And again,
I mean, you're by yourself, you have a really
Right.
tiny, it's not that big of a
right, I
house.
don't water, that's what I'm saying, so.
And
I mean,
again, I was all for this, I talked to John again. But then he brought home the fact again, the reason why it was such a culture shock, and the reason why he convinced you guys to vote for the rates over a 5-year period is because nobody wanted to raise the rates because people couldn't afford it for all them years. Now, if we put it off, it's gonna be the same thing again.
Yeah, but I don't
Except
think,
that
I
we
don't
were
think,
part of that
Yeah, I know.
I think that, you know, putting it off for a year, and to revisit it is not a big deal, because the other thing is we're working on grants, you wanna do the pipeline, we're working on meter grants, you know what I'm saying, and then in the interim, we're also working to get this
I'll tell you
project.
though, if you don't do it consistent, that's fine, but if you don't do it consistent, first of all, nobody's gonna thank you for not raising the rates, except for maybe 1 or 2 people that's your friend.
Yeah, they won't even notice.
The rest of the people will take it for granted, and if you don't do it the way it's written this year, next year when we have to do it, they're gonna throw a bigger fit, because it's not set where every January it goes shows up the required amount. So it's almost like if you don't do it now, you better not do it for the rest of the time,
So
until we do another rate study.
if we didn't do it this year, just saying,
Yeah.
and we did it next year, would we go with the figures for the year 3, right?
Right, exactly.
And could we revisit it in 6 months, or does it have to be a year? Can we revisit it at the height of drought?
Well, put it this way, it's never gonna be attractive at any time. So you either just say, okay, we just ain't gonna do it, or we're not gonna do it for a year and then we're gonna do it. There's no real reason to revisit it.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Okay, I am the one that supplied the numbers for this in conjunction with Director Lyman. I had some questions, but I squashed those questions because we also assured the public that we were going to revisit this when we were hoping that we would have a larger base of customers, and if we had a larger base of customers, the price would go down. Well, none of this stuff's moving very quickly. We're not having a larger base of customers right now. We're already on year 3, and we had, there were some issues already, a couple years ago when we talked about this. So I'm just concerned that I don't know, it is high. I mean, there's definitely, I have less concerns if we were able to deal with something that, for people that had very limited incomes. I would have less concerns if we dealt with the issue of the late fees. I would have less concerns if we dealt with some of the other stuff we're, but to just raise it right now without dealing with any of those other things, I have a problem.
Well, I have one side is you keep saying that we kept on assuring people. I made a point, and we all did in meetings, to nip that in the bud when that was brought up, because we could not promise them that. Second, another option that I have is spend the money to do an abbreviated rate study, just not to do another Prop 218, but pay somebody that knows what they're doing, whether it's John or it's somebody else, to come in here and go over those numbers that Lisa was concerned about, go over those numbers, see if we're on track or if we overshot it.
That's gonna be $25,000.
No, I wouldn't think it would be that much if you're only doing, rechecking the figures that were given the first time.
Yeah, but we have new assets, don't we?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So,
We have different assets. We never really fully fixed our asset list, and I think until that list is correct, which there were issues with that, and we really had no choice. We had to kind of move forward with some of that stuff because of the time crunch, and we still haven't done it because it's like there's not enough people on this board, or it's like that asset list is. It's like a big job because nobody kept up with it, and so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I have some concerns. I also know that we have all kinds of problems going on, but then I don't know what if we have grants and we'll pay. You can't take into account. I mean, the whole reason this is so high is because you can't take into account any kind of grants or any kind of loan. You can't take a little bit of loans, but you're not really taking into account any kind of grant money.
that's how long we've been going for this one grant.
I know.
And we start more grants, it takes a long time going through that whole process. care. They just wanna complain because
Because it's happening to them.
it hurts.
Because, yeah, it's happening to them, and
It hurts.
everybody's gonna take
Yeah.
it personally. I mean, people talk to me, it's like personal, like, how can I possibly pay this? We're not doing anything now, how can I possibly pay more? And you just have to explain it again, yes, and it's like beating against the wall, explaining about, trying to keep the system up and running so that we don't get overtaken by the government, so that we don't end up, paying like, they say that Lake Isabel paid every month?
Something like
It's
$200 or
something
$300.
crazy.
Yeah, my
And
bill
that's
by
what
side-
we're trying to prevent. We just have to keep
What's
hammering
your,
it in.
what's your bill of license?
My bill of Isaiah was for like 1,500 cubic feet, was, same company, but about $30-something, $40. And I used their calculations, and it came out to, up at the Lake Isabella rates, 190. And then I just did some regular number crunching, and it actually was higher. And that was a little.
My mom was living in Paris before she passed away in Paris, California, and she was paying $180 a month. She was watering her yard, but that was standard for the people in her neighborhood, which was just, a middle-class neighborhood.
The people up on that side of the county, part of the county, are really aware of what the larger water company in the area, what people pay for that, for their water, and they're scared to death of being forced to plan with them.
I'll say this again. I understand that you guys hear the complaints. You guys are on the board.
You do too.
You're gonna hear the complaints. I hear it every day of my life. But I'll also tell you something. When that last person wrote that scathing letter to the newspaper, talking about running us out of town with pitchforks, I had way more people coming up in support of us than in support of his ignorant comments. Everybody in my neighborhood, all types of people I know, came up and said, if they only knew what you guys put up with, if they only knew how bad the system was, if they only knew. But they'll never know. When we raise these rates that everybody's upset about, we had town hall meetings. Very few people even came. When you figure there's almost 3,000 people in this town, and
100
we had,
people showed up.
it
maybe.
wasn't even 100, it was like 30,
Yeah.
40 tops.
Yeah.
And people act like we don't have fixed expenses, like, people say, I live on a fixed income, I can't ask the government to give me more money. Well, we can't ask the electric company to lower our bill, because it's too high, and,
Yeah.
we've got to.
People say you bought new trucks. We bought 4-cylinder Toyotas instead of $60,000 full-size trucks like we had before. The dump truck, instead of getting a full-size dump truck, we went down. We try to use the Polaris's to cut back. They see the negative side because they don't see all the cutbacks that we have been doing.
But there is, I understand all that, but there is, like, with the electric company, I can be, I'm eligible for a drop in my rates. With the gas company, I'm eligible for a drop in my rates. With the water company, I'm not eligible for a drop in my rates. So if you're like me, and you're not getting any more money, and the bill keeps going up, it's not, I don't know what people do. There's people that make a lot less. I'm on the higher end of disability. I hate to see the people in this town that are making like $800 a month. I don't know how they're doing it. $800-900. That's what they pay for like standard SSI. Like I worked my whole life, so I had money coming back in.
Well, that's why I was concerned about all those lockoffs and
Yeah,
shut-offs and
it's
how
But
many.
as you
I
see,
don't know how they do it.
but as you see though,
Yeah, I see. I mean, that's why I asked.
before the rate increase, we had more. If it was killing people, we still have about the same amount of active accounts, about the same amount of 48-hour notices. Most people that are on a tight income, they cut back way back on their water usage. A lot of people still don't care.
Well, you got that right.
They don't care. They still, they throw their hose out, they still water
Well,
all the grass.
especially
They
Lake of
don't
the Woods,
care.
because you don't have meters, so you're not
No,
paying.
not in Lakewood Wood. I see it here more
Yeah.
in Fraser Park. I see contractors who wash their trucks every weekend. In Lake of the Woods, we don't permit that.
Just, I don't know how to promote
But those
all the good things
contractors
that we're,
aren't on
I don't know how to
fixed
promote
income.
all the
They're
good things that
profitable.
we're doing. But I do know how to promote, every time you turn your faucet on, you got good, safe water. We haven't had any kind of health concerns with the water
Not
like we used to have. We don't have any of the things that were happening 15 or 20 years ago.
And Lebec does have those issues.
Lake of the Woods, they were having it, so, and I'll tell you one more thing and I'll shut up. Jesse Dollywall, when I started here, the whole plan was to avoid him at all costs. He's our state regulator that runs this place. Jesse thinks very highly of the board, thinks highly of me. He never gives us a hard time. The water's always good. We meet all the standards. We do everything we're supposed to do. And he's a pleasant guy to talk to. I do not have a bit of calling him up and talking to him about anything. And that's a direct result.
You know,
I say find out if we could raise it less. So we're still doing something, even if it's just a 2% COLA. See if that's legal.
I think you people are a little bit off on this, you know, aid to people who can't pay the full amount because they're disabled or they're old or something like that. That's not your issue. That's an issue for the county, public social services. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Well, I guess I did.
Yeah, it is, but we're not.
Well, and sadly, like you
But
said,
that's not the
It's
concern
not-
of this private entity. You know, your job
We're not a
is-
private entity,
Well,
we're a public entity.
we're a
You're a not-for-profit private entity.
Right. Well, I mean, we do have, I mean, our,
Public entity.
one of our things is we need to be fiscally
Public district,
responsible.
but public means that they're a government agency and they're not.
They are.
We are.
We are.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
a government,
My
we're a
mistake.
public
Yeah.
utility district. We are completely yeah, it's a little different. And we're not a mutual, we're
I'm
not a.
mistaken, I'm sorry.
but we don't qualify for nothing. I've asked, how come we can't give rebates for
That's right.
like toilets and
The
and
discount-
water
discount
conservation and
prices,
down in the city, if you,
comes from government.
down in the city, if you tear out your grass, they give you rebates.
Yeah, I
But we
wanted
don't,
one.
we
You
don't
wouldn't
qual,
let-
we
give
don't
me
qual,
one.
we don't qualify for any of that stuff because we're too small.
Well, it's a lot to discuss this evening. Can we carry it over and discuss it?
I would like to, yeah, I didn't have a second on that, but I would like to table it, and I think, I don't think, there are very few people in this town that have grass anymore, there are very few people in this town that water anymore. I do see a couple swimming pools every
There's
once
tons of
in a
people in
while.
water, but still, then, yeah, but still.
Not like crazy well, I know, I have neighbors across the street that do crazy watering, but I don't know how they.
I go out talking all the time, so I know there's tons of people who still water. It's the people that don't care about the water. They just don't care. They can afford
That's
it.
right, they'll pay it, they'll.
They can afford a $200 water bill. They don't care.
Yeah, I know
It doesn't
some
bother
people
them
do.
because they have money right now.
Okay, so I that we
Yeah.
table it till next month.
So we just vote on the table.
All in favor of tabling, the, rate study?
I,
Aye.
And then can we, and then however you do it, but can we place other issues?
Yeah, I'll make a list of them and then verify with John what needs to be on.
I do think we might wanna consider another meeting that might be worth it to the town that we take, that we spend some time on this, but maybe, I don't know if we're gonna be ready.
Well, obviously, we're
by
gonna spend
November.
some time on it, right?
Yeah,
Because we spent quite a bit on it this evening.
so.
okay, let's move on.
we need to-
Review and approve of minutes of 9/13, the last meeting.
I'm sorry, I didn't have time to read them. Which I'm usually the one that reads them.
Yeah, you and, I read it. Hey, that's a little one, but
I would like to move that we approve the minutes for,
You didn't find anything in them?
no, I
Yeah, I
didn't.
didn't find it.
Thursday, September 13th, 2018, with the amendments, well, none were given, but, and with the possibility for additional amendments or typos or other errors that we may not have caught or that may need to be corrected.
I second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Boy, that was easy.
I'm trusting you guys paid attention.
I did, Lisa. I tried to be
Okay.
Lisa while I was doing it.
There's a comma out of place.
And thank you,
Somebody
Tiffany.
can
cause it was like, spot on.
Commas out place
good,
she can
thank you.
fix with that.
Okay.
Okay, future agenda items, oh, sorry.
Future, yes, discussion and vote on future agenda items.
You already mentioned them, right?
Yeah, the two
I did,
tabled,
right.
the quote for fencing and the, rate increase.
And then those other ones that she
Which
mentioned.
is along with, yeah. And and maybe we need to add the.
Do we have to talk about the John Dale thing next month?
Not unless something comes up,
Okay.
it ought to be just resolved already, it just depends on after I talk to JPIA.
Can we, before we close, can we go back for one moment to item number 9? Even though I know we voted on it.
Document scanner?
Yeah, can we just make sure, are we okay going back to that?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay, can we just make absolutely sure that before we move forward with that Canon, that it can do, it says it can, but that it can actually scan through the little receipts, because that was her big
Okay,
thing with the
And also work
Fujitsu
well
one,
with,
or whatever it is.
QuickBooks. Did you say it worked well with QuickBooks?
I had that Twain, he was looking at that.
Yeah, it was okay with QuickBooks,
Nice.
I just wanna make sure that it can actually do the things that she's most interested in.
Yeah, the ACE receipts,
Yeah,
And gas receipts?
states and, yeah, that kind of stuff.
'cause I forgot to mention that.
I'm in a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
Okay,